All right, let's get on here. We've been talking. We actually probably could have started the show on time, but we were having wonderful conversations. So I'm going to blame the professor.
We couldn't find him. We were looking, Paulo. We couldn't find him.
It was both of us. It was both of us. John C. Be like John C. Like, subscribe, hit that bell. That man was on here 20 minutes early saying good morning, and I appreciated it. That's me. Yeah, I'm watching too. Yeah, we're good. All right. And Paolo, it's been late. He's probably lost inside Publix trying to find the missing puppetine. Oh, that's hilarious. I feel like there's a story.
That's it. It's because you're not watching enough Geeky Puppet Show.
All right. So I'm Howlermouse. This is a comic book channel, but we're talking about what I consider the greatest time, the greatest year in movies ever. And with me is the great Professor Eric Breen, formerly known as Back Issue Breen, formerly known as I won't go to the doctor and take care of myself, Breen. How are you doing this morning?
If you want to keep it current to today's topic, shouldn't you say 1982 is my favorite year for movies?
Nah, I think it's the best year. Yeah. Yeah.
Nah, it's gonna be a long. It's gonna be a long show, kids. This is what I got to work with.
Which is my favorite year. My favorite.
Which
year.
ironically, I went to grab that off the shelf, and I don't have it.
Talking about Dark Crystal?
No, my favorite year.
Oh, my favorite. Really?
Yeah. That's which is actually on my list. That's a fantastic movie.
Wow.
Are you familiar with it?
No, not a bit.
Peter O'Toole plays like an Errol Flynn type swashbuckling movie star, and it's set in the early years of television. So now he's basically just a drunk.
I've seen it.
Yeah. Yes. And the guy from Perfect Strangers, the not Balky, is a young TV writer that's tasked with keeping him sober long
Pierce
enough
Bronson.
to make the Marklin Baker.
Pierce, was it Pierce Bronson or the other dude?
No, it was Bronson Pinchot.
Bronson Pinchot. Yes.
Marklin Baker, and it's just a great movie. And like I said, Peter O'Toole is just like I said, he just chews up the scenery for a couple hours, and and I went to find that, and I don't own that, and I'm not happy. I didn't care for the 15 years I didn't know, but now that I know, I'm not happy.
There was a movie called Get Him to the Greek with Johnny Hill, and I can't think of the other guy right now. Yeah, it was a sequel for Getting Sarah Silverman. And when I was watching it, I'm like, this is the same plot as that movie, and I realized I didn't know the name of it.
Wasn't that Russell Brand?
Russell Brand, yes. Yes. So in 1982, I was 9 years old, and for 2 years, the first movie I snuck off to and walk, I used to think it was like 5, 6, 7 miles. When I moved back here, moved back closer to my hometown and went and drove it in my car, it turned out just to be 3 miles, which blew my mind. But I would sneak to the movies on Sundays. And I hate using the word sneak because I would just ask people if they wanted to go. And every now and then we would walk the railroad tracks to the movies. It wasn't even really sneaking. It was just that we were outside from morning till the street lights came on. You get what I'm saying? It was our thing. So by the time 1982 came on, I was like 9 years old, and there was a shit ton of movies I got to watch, and I feel real lucky for getting to see them. That's why I think 1982 was like the thing for me because I was able to actually get a real allowance and do little things around this trailer park to get a little extra money to go. What were you doing in 1982, sir?
Did you catch what you just did there?
Who?
You.
What did I do?
You said, I'll see you're my favorite year, and I'll say 1982 was the thing for me.
Yeah.
I trust that's on your list.
The thing? Yes,
yeah, see?
It is. It's like on top of the list.
See, that's what you get here, kids.
Breen was picking up when I was laying down, and I didn't even know it.
Totally unrehearsed.
See, I was almost going to try
to. Clearly not smart enough to rehearse this.
I was about to play it off like we rehearsed that. No, that's just the kismet and the magic of all this, right? So, where were you in 1982? What were you doing?
Probably drinking. No, I said I was 20. So, um, yeah, I said, yeah, it's when I was out, out all the time. But going to the movies was a big thing because it was pre,
Yeah.
it was even pre VHS. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that was still going to the movies was still a thing. So that's a lot of movies we'll be talking about I saw in the theater. A lot of them I've seen later on, through VHS, DVD, blah blah blah. But yeah, I said going to the movies was a big part of life in
Yeah.
'82.
Yeah.
Even like I said at 20, because you're still you can't legally go to bars, and some of them actually gave a shit. And obviously, if you were a girl, you get in. If you're a guy, you got to be 21 a lot of times. So
You were around the age where they just changed the drinking age from 18 to 21.
where I lived, there was. Do you remember? Was 3-2 beer still a thing when you were
Oh, I don't know.
It was basically it's somebody's brilliant idea. It was actually regular 6% beer is only a little over 3.2, and then 3.2 is actually less than that. But if you were 18 to 21, you could drink 3-2 beer.
Oh, okay.
That's makes no sense because then if it has any amount of alcohol in it, you could just pound them until you got the same effect that less would have done. I think it was just an excuse to make more money at bars.
The wildest thing that happened to tie this to movies is I watched the movie with the cannibals, Green Inferno, a couple years ago, and it blew my mind because I got to drink beer in the theater for the first time. And they had this big stand up of the Peanuts characters because the Peanuts movie was out. They had the Peanuts characters sitting in movie seats and you could sit with them. I use it on Facebook a lot every now and then. So I'm sitting there with Peanuts having beer and peanuts, So
I thought you were going to say that the Peanuts characters had steins in their hand or something.
If I had time, sir, they all would have, So 20 years old in 1982, man, that's you see 1978 to 82 to me is its own little era. So I'm glad you got to experience that. But getting on here to the thing, since we were talking about it, I had no idea that so many movies from 1982 were flops. And actually, The Thing is one of the few movies that the house in my hometown is still there. My mom had a friend who had her friend had a daughter around my age and a little brother, but the kids were so mean and the house was so full of cockroaches, I hated going over there. Yeah, so the TV was on, and I don't know what channel it was, but I look over there, and the first thing I see is the first time that the Thing grows a head and is exploding at everybody, and is like wanting to kill everybody. Now I want to stay, but now we got to go, and I'm like, no. So I had to figure out what this movie was, what the hell was going on, and I was so happy, to actually find out what this movie was, and still think it was genius. Now, here's what's great about my wife. This is what we use to go to sleep when we can't sleep. We will turn on The Thing. And up until about 6 months ago, we would use the VHS version of The Thing. I've only watched this DVD twice. And right now, this is on Tubi. But Thing. And then you have like the comic book tie. I didn't know it. But I love how as a kid, all the things that I was kind of like into with the movies, I would find out that comic guy, Jim Steranko, Mike Plug, and all these guys worked on them years later. I'd find this out. So now I have Mike Plug on Facebook, and every now and then he'll show you where you can buy some of his sketches for the Thing's different forms and stuff.
Oh, very nice. I did not know. Now, The Thing is on my list of movies that everybody raves about from 1982.
Yeah,
that I haven't seen.
Oh yeah,
I've seen the original.
Yep, that's on Tubi also.
The
Thing from Outer Space.
And my God, for a 73-year-old movie, it's still creepy as hell.
Yeah, it's the eyebrows.
It was very that movie. Yeah, like not in a creepy way, but I said that rose above the pack, just like them and Forbidden Planet. For all the 50s sci-fi schlock that's out there, those just really elevated themselves past that. So it's not. I just haven't gotten around to seeing the 82 one. But a friend of mine, that's his favorite movie of all time, and he is a horror movie aficionado, and he's got mad computer skills, so he can, if it's anywhere in the dark web, he can find it. So he's seen them all, and that's his favorite.
See, I wish I prepared a little bit more now too, because I've got these 4 issues of Whitman comics from the 70s, and they've taken classic sci-fi stories by Isaac Asimov, Ray Bradbury, everybody, and they did their book adaptation to these short stories. And somebody did the original story. I think it was called Who Goes There from 1934. They did the adaptation of it in it. So I haven't read the original short story that it was based on, but I had the comic book adaptation here somewhere. And I can't believe it's 1934 when you think about things
Didn't
like
know
Flash
that.
Gordon and Buck Rogers were going on. Even the story, as simple as it is ahead of its time. Like this was meant to be. But I couldn't believe this was a flop. On YouTube, there are there's people who have made videos about an hour long dedicated to trying to figure out who was human, what happened, and where. People have dissected this movie, going through it, trying to figure every little thing out and stuff, right?
Yeah, but
And
at least as a fan of the movie, you can say it may have been a flop, but here it is, 42 years later. People are still watching and talking about that. A lot of movies that did much better at the box office are just gone.
well, I think a little bit of it was timing. The movie was definitely ahead of its time, but I don't know what. I think E.T. had come out. So you had E.T., which I don't. I thought I owned. I had a VHS copy, but it's gone. But E.T. came out, and everybody had their lovable little alien, with the FBI coming after kids with guns. And then you have The Thing, which is horror sci-fi.
Well, think of how, if you say that was ahead of its time, think how ahead of its time it was in 1951.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just weird how some things work out. I guess timing. There's a '60s band called the Baroques that
Mhm.
it poured their heart and soul into the album they were making, and it was really good. Problem was, it was released the same day as Sergeant Pepper.
Yeah.
Nobody remembers this record. Um, it's like poor Aldous Huxley. You remember him, right?
Mm,
Brave New World
yeah.
author that had the misfortune of dying on November 22nd, 1963.
Oh.
So he might have gotten like a sentence at the bottom of page 25.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, timing is everything. As I veer way off track.
Now you're making me think about when Jim Henson and Sammy Davis Jr. died the same day. And I'm not going to say the guy's name, but a lot of people missed that Mark Bright, the comic book artist, died the same day as somebody who
Yeah.
took themselves out cowardly. I'm sorry, I have feelings about that. But not to get dark.
Don't get dark. Get Dark Crystal.
Oh, nice. So I threw out The Thing. Well, we can go as long as you want on The Thing, man. But anytime you want to throw a movie out, I'm here, man. I'm here.
Okay. I'm going to throw it out there that again, like I said, this. I know we're on a genre channel, but mine, the King of Comedy.
Yes, that's on my list of movies I need to get. Jerry Lewis, Robert De Niro, and if you want to work, I'm not worried about the genre channel, but that ties into the Joker movie. I'll just say
Yeah.
that.
Oh, yeah. This heavily influenced the Joker movie. Robert De Niro plays this, not right in the head comedian named Rupert Pupkin, who wants to be on the show hosted by his idol. I think is Jerry Marlowe. I think is Jerry Lewis's character's name in the movie. And he basically he does the brush off bit, and then he shows up at his house, and then Jerry Lewis starts getting it's like he's getting really annoyed. So he hatches a plan to kidnap him and basically force his way on to being able to perform on his show. Well, it's basically that's basically the gist of the movie. And when he finally pulls it off, he lets him, he surrenders to authority, blah, 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 does his 2 years in jail, comes out, he writes a book that's very successful, and he comes out and he gets to do his stand-up. So it's like everything he did, and I think it was just to show how absurd circumstances can get, works out in his favor. He,
Yeah.
in a way, kind of becomes the king of comedy. And what's great about it is, Jerry Lewis plays the comedian, but it's a straight role.
I'm not real. I don't know. I'm not. I'm kind of worried about spoilers, and then again, I'm not. I mean, these are 42-year
Yeah,
old
yeah,
movies.
I'm not. I don't do this kind of stuff enough to
Yeah,
talk something up without hitting that. You
I think we just have to say there's spoilers because the ending of that is what made it a classic for me. I didn't see it coming.
know.
You think he's going to embarrass himself the whole time. You think he's just this flat, talentless guy, and then that ending. That's what got me. I was like, "Oh my god!" You know what I mean? Like you feel like you're watching a moment of
It's
somebody's
like,
career
what
take off.
price did he pay
Yeah,
for kidnapping?
right.
It's like, yeah, the inconvenience of a couple of years in a minimum security cell where he got to write a book and make millions,
Yeah,
and it comes out that he is so much better off than Jerry Lewis's character at the end.
yeah.
It's just it's crazy, and I think this is one of those that you know it's like it's say sometimes I don't know. Sometimes the bad guys. I don't know what exactly what it's going for, but I know it's a tremendous movie.
It's black comedy
Yeah.
before people before that. I mean, and you got to remember, I was 9 years old at the time, right? And grew up in like that 70s show house. That's the best way to put it. I know black comedy was out there, but to me, that was the I don't know something about that. I feel like that was the first thing that really exposed people to black comedy. This is during the time where it was raunchy movies. You know what
Oh
I
yeah.
mean? Animal House, Porky's, all that stuff was like, that was what was popular comedy wise. And all of a sudden, this black comedy comes out that's got kidnapping, and you don't know which way it's going to go. Is he psycho or not? Or you just see somebody doing things that you're just sort of like, it felt real. That was the
Yeah.
magic of it. It
It
was
was
grounded in reality.
it was almost like this was the movie for people that didn't want that wanted something that might have been a little bit out there but could happen as opposed to there's like I said there was a lot of raunchy comedies,
Yeah.
a lot of eh, horror movies were getting increasingly more violent because the Halloween series and the Friday the 13th series were getting going.
Halloween 3 came out that year, and I was going to intentionally not talk about that. But yeah,
Okay, no, all right then. Okay, why?
I need to go back and rewatch it. But I remember as a kid uh, watching that. And when I say kid, I want to say I probably was in middle school when it finally came around. Season of the Witch. Is that what it's called? Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And there's just no. I've got the words I didn't have as a kid. Okay, it shouldn't have been Halloween. It should have been called something else. I think it was good enough to start its own thing, but it didn't need to be tied to Michael Myers.
Okay. To me, it's the Halloween equivalent of Tokyo Drift. Why is that a Fast and the Furious movie? Where's Dominic to whatever the hell his name is? Where Taraz? Where's is it? I don't know why it was part of the Halloween series. Maybe maybe they didn't have maybe they didn't expect it to become something that would last for decades and figured we'd just trade on the name because it was Halloween in name only.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. It should have
And
been
I agree,
something, but
but okay, what's your feeling of it as a movie, discounting the title?
I'll just count in the title. I think, like I said, I need to rewatch it, so I'm going to reserve the right to, call back to this. If I get around to watching it again. But as a movie, it wasn't great, but it's not as bad as people say it is. I'm telling you, where there's no Mike Myers and you called it Halloween, that put a stigma on it. I mean, they just blew it from the get go, trying to cash in on the Halloween title. You know, Mike Myers drops at the end of the second one in a ball of flame, and then Mr. Sandman comes on, and then all of a sudden you come out with a horror movie called Halloween 3, like it's supposed to be a sequel, and there's no Mike Myers. That's the problem. You go into the movie with an attitude. You can't be objective. But I think being objective, from what I remember about it, it could have been its own. They should have called it something else and took the chance. What's the girl in it? The Danny, is her name Dan? No,
I don't
the
remember
girl.
it. Um, but I'll tell you what the how it's some maybe from this point forward today. At some point, maybe right now, you're gonna have that 6 more days to Halloween. It's gonna get stuck in your head, and that's to me that's if you don't remember anything else about this movie, just you know what it's building to, and you know all these dumbass kids are gonna put on that mask, and they're gonna get their heads squeezed, And it's just, I said it just trying to stop that. And since you know what kind of movie it is, knowing they're going to fail,
Yeah.
it just, there's something about this movie that I said, just, it kind of sticks in your head like that stupid theme.
Yeah.
And I loved it. Actually, yeah, I'm not gonna say I liked it better than the Michael Myers Halloween movies, but I really like this.
See, I went through an era where I avoided a lot of horror movies in the 80s. I don't know what the deal was. Hellraiser 2 brought me back around. You know what I mean? And I've had friends over the years that they're not just into the horror movies. They will tell you the production companies and the director and who the sound guy is. You know what I mean? Like they were really into them. And that's one that they even avoided. I've always kind of wondered from talking to them is if Halloween 3 didn't come out, would we had the, to me, by taking Mike Myers out of the game unintentionally, if you look at the big picture of horror, would Freddy Krueger and Jason elevated even more if where Michael Myers was taken out? You follow what I'm saying? Like they
Yeah,
weren't competing.
that's a good question.
Yeah.
It's I I'm trying to remember at the time. Mean, we all can agree now that Michael Meyer is the king of the slashers.
Time has shown that.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Yeah.
but I remember as it was happening, I can remember arguments. Better movie, Halloween, Friday the 13th, the first one before Friday the 13th. I mean, both of them became bloated parodies of themselves. But I think Friday the 13th went way more off the rails than Halloween.
Well, I'll tell you what, you were right, Breen. If we're just going to be talking about things and just let it happen, you're dead on. But Friday the 13th, we can stay on Halloween, don't get me wrong, but I'm just going to point out Friday the 13th came out, part 3 came out the same year, part 3 with Corey Feldman, you know.
Okay, so now I remember, like I said, the first movie when Betsy Palmer, it was who looked like your friendly mom next door, is revealed as the killer.
It's in 3D, Breen. It's in 3D. Sorry, man. Yeah. Okay.
I thought that was, to me, that was more chilling than anything that happened in Friday. When she breaks the pantry door in where the final girl's hiding and just looks in and smiles, that was creepier than anything that any of the, creepier than when Kevin Bacon got shish kebab, all of that. Yeah. So, I mean, that was actually an argument at one time. I was in the minority because I actually liked Friday the 13th better. But
I did too.
But Michael Myers definitely the king, and maybe him being off the board did give rise to like Freddy Krueger.
Yeah,
and Jason I think would have been there because he was there from the beginning. But yeah, I think that probably allowed the Jasons and the Pinheads and the whatevers to.
The quality of the Halloween movies to me went downhill, and they tried to bring them back around the 20th anniversary and stuff. I'm fine. I can separate the Rob Zombie stuff. You know what I mean? I kind of agree they didn't need to answer things, but I still love the movie. You know what I mean? And I don't know if you saw what John Carpenter did, but when he came out with his Halloween movie, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, nothing from part 2 on ever happened.
I saw what he just basically.
Yeah, smart move, but then he ruined it with the sequel after that, the last one that came out. That's what I think has hurt Michael Myers, but time has shown that original John Carpenter movie, my opinion, man, he's king. You can't top that first one. And I think just the first 3, to be honest, the first 3 Friday the 13th are the only one worth watching. And that third one's kind of shaky, man.
Yeah, I remember I went to the theater to see the second. I saw the first one in a drive-in.
Nice. That's
nice. That's how old I am, kids. Saw the second one in the theater. It's like, you mother effers. You kill the final girl in the first scene of the second movie. And I thought, actually, that's kind of cool. I mean, could you imagine if they'd knocked off Jamie Lee Curtis 10 minutes into Halloween 2?
Right on. Yeah, man. Yeah.
I mean, this girl went through so much to survive. She goes get a snack out of the refrigerator, sees a head there, turns around, see you. I thought that was, but I think that was where the franchise peaked. I'm not even sure that the whole second movie is all that good, But for one movie and 20 minutes of a second, excellent stuff. But
Well, that genre was sort of getting the first Friday the 13th, maybe the second one, and that first Halloween. They were sort of making the rules for the rise of the slasher films. Now I know there's stuff from the early 70s and stuff. Don't get me wrong, there's been horror movies and everything like that, but this was still new. You know what I mean? It's like you had Star Wars elevating sci-fi, you had John Carpenter's Halloween elevating horror. You know what I mean?
yeah, and like I said that they upped the body count, and it became what kind of the creativity went into what new ways can we slash people.
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
only so many ways you can do that. So that was kind of and then that's going to eventually lend itself to self-parody.
And Jason became more pop culture than Mike Myers there for a while, in my opinion. You could get on the school bus and get behind some people behind, sneak up behind them on their seat and go, ch. And I know that's not what he's saying, but that would freak people out. And I remember we played in the woods around here, and there were people that you would notice them getting kind of freaked out every now and then. And it was Friday the 13th getting them, it got me a few times. Yeah. I remember having a moment or two where I just kind of looked around a little creeped out,
Yeah, the movie, I mean, I can remember the music from Halloween, but yeah, that's just that's.
Well, I tell you what, man, I love the people that have stuck around, man. I've seen some of my people pop in. I know they were hoping for comic book top. It's dropped down. We're rising up again, but we've got some movie lovers here, sir. I remember trying to decide which movie to go to because Rocky and E.T. came out at the same time, and my parents said I could go to one of them. See, that is the hell of being a kid. When I was a kid, they had the Super Friends on the same time as the New Adventures of Batman by Filmation. Can you believe those sons of bitches? I ate Reese's Pieces for E.T. Did I not say?
I want to know which one John picked.
Upstairs? Yeah, huh? Go ahead.
I want to know which of the two John picked.
If
he's only allowed to go to one of them, we need to know which one you went with.
Hey, John, you see who has manners in the morning. You know what I mean? We want to know, where did you go? I am going to put my money on E.T. if he was a kid. Rocky.
I think he was going to fly now.
Yeah.
And not on the bike.
John, you got to answer us, sir. The Reese's Pieces, I have ate them for 42 years because of this movie. Did I not say, Breen, that I bought a run upstairs? They're in my house.
Do you still run anywhere? Because I don't. You said you were going to run upstairs.
No.
That's just an expression now at our age.
Yeah. Good point about the movies that don't do well, but later are revered as classics. That's most of 1982 movies I found out. A lot of this stuff we're talking about bombed, apparently. And TV shows helped them. There's Indiana Jones, and in the other room, I have Tales of the Brass Monkey. So not only did you have like these movies, 9 to 5 was a TV show. Did you know that?
I did.
Syndication, stuff like that. So yeah, it was an interesting time. See, Breen, if you have a good time on this, I have no idea where we pick a year and do this again, because 1980 with the Blues Brothers, I could do a whole show on that. I was listening to Taj Mahal singing She Took the Katy last night. I have the Blues Brother album, was listening to the soundtrack last night.
1980. That's year I graduated. If we weren't hammered, we were in the theaters.
I had my Empire movie. Yeah, I got you. 18. You would have been 18, sir. Am I right? Yeah. I have my Empire Strikes Back poster over here on the floor, not hanging on the wall. Yeah. And I also have my Flash Gordon poster in the other room. Flash Gordon was my Empire Strikes Back in that year.
Now, this 1982. You talked about flops. There was a massive flop of a TV summer replacement series that spawned a series of movies, and it's become the show became a cult classic, and the first movie became a monster hit.
See, I'm stuck on Cheers. I'm stuck on Cheers till I actually watched that,
which was also a massive flop.
Yeah,
the first two seasons.
What movie?
Thank you, Bill Cosby.
What was it?
Said thank you, Bill Cosby, and somebody at NBC that liked the show enough to stick with it, because after 2 seasons, its ratings were cancellation level.
Yeah.
But then the Cosby Show started. It piggybacked off of that, but it was still there because somebody believed in the show, and it became an all-time classic. But
Well, you're going to have give Family Ties. It's winking a nod too, Jay Fox, and
yeah, that was a few years after that. The movie I'm trying to think of a clue I could give you that would make it, but I can't really think of a Police Squad.
Leslie,
Leslie Nielsen.
yeah,
It was
Leslie
the
Nielsen,
Naked Gun. That was
yeah, the Police Squad. That was 1982.
yes. It lasted for 6 weeks. It was only designed to last 6 weeks, but it got no ratings. But people went back and revisited. This is fun because they thought they could capitalize on Airplane.
Naked Gun, the Naked Gun movie.
Yeah, so it was in that same people. So it was in that vein. Television audiences didn't know when they were supposed to laugh because they didn't use the laugh track.
Yeah.
But there was a lesser known actor that played the George Kennedy part in the show, and Peter Lupus, remember him, the giant from Mission Impossible. He was pre-OJ Nordberg.
Gotcha, man. See, I couldn't guess Police Squad because that feels so much older than that to me. It's weird. To me, that feels like 1980, 81 to me. Like, wow. Wow, that's amazing. Well played, Breen. Gratu's here. Look at that.
I'm not surprised at all that he knew that.
Will be there. Well, will there be a Mike Myers versus Freddy Krueger? Didn't they have something in comics where it was like Freddy Krueger, Jason versus Ash or something like that? It's happened in comics.
Yeah, I avoid those kind of things like
you're right. Yeah, and then Tommy T Dog Lindell is right here. All right, good to see you, Gratu. Nice. That's it. So. Oh man, but yeah, the slasher movies, man, I could just keep talking about those. There's a lot of those became ingrained in the pop culture. I mean, when I'm trying to think which is it, Friday the 13th Part 6, where the guy like digs him up and lightning strikes the body and he comes out. In the theater, I had the crowd was wild. It was like a rock concert, and when Jason rised out of that grave, for some reason, the whole front row was doing the heavy metal horns screaming Ozzy, Ozzy. And I'm sitting in the back row just like, what the fuck is going on? I was like, they were rabid fans, when I saw those Friday the 13th movies,
Yeah, I dropped off. Like I said, I'm not even sure I've seen Part 3. And I've seen bits and pieces of some of the other ones, but
you've got to see Part 3 for Crispin Glover's parts. That's it. Okay. And Corey Feldman supposedly was like this big spoiled brat on the set because because the director, somebody made him mad. So he gave him hell, So I've got one that's tasteful. There's movies and there's films. And we were talking about like Tootsie and Annie and stuff like that. I thought they were pieces of shit.
Got my pinky extended.
There we go. Right. So a film, if there's anything to do with cavemen or dystopian like Planet of the Apes and some other things, stuff like that, or Bigfoot, I'm dropping off the Bigfoot thing a little bit, or Jack the Ripper, I'm there. Right. So imagine me. I think this came on Showtime, is where I actually ended up watching this. But there's a little movie called Quest for Fire that is a film with very little dialogue. And I have watched this from the day it came out. There's so many of these movies from 1982 I still watch regularly and like track them down. Quest for Fire is simply, it's got Ron Perlman in it and a few other people. But simply what happens is that the cavemen lose their fire. There's a big raid that comes down, and another tribe is stealing their women and stuff. So they run out to the swamp. They have to leave their cave. And one caveman holds a little lantern, which has got a flame in it. And the flame goes out and they have to travel. Then 3 or 4 of the cavemen decide to travel to go out into the dangerous wilderness to try to find more fire. And that's the big plot. And this thing is brilliant. I mean, this is a film. Now you got to understand, the year or two before this, and I have this movie too. I had Caveman with Ringo Starr, and then I get this. This was like I grew up. You know what I mean? I still love Caveman. But this is Quest for Fire. This is where I found Ron Perlman. So when Beauty and the Beast, the TV show, came out, I'm like, it's the dude from Quest for Fire. And then Hellboy, my Hellboy became Quest. To me, Ron Perlman goes back to this. But this is brilliant. I absolutely love this Quest for Fire. You need to watch this. Fuck Gandhi. But anyway, this should have been the movie of the year. So.
I will go to Jerusalem in search of someone saying "fuck Gandhi."
I'm talking about the movie, not Gandhi himself.
No. I say, I'll say here's how much of an uncultured swine I am. I haven't seen either one of them.
Oh, I tried. I could not get through it, man. Oh man, I could not get through it. But Quest for Fire, man, I'm telling you, that movie. I absolutely love this movie, and it's kind of cursed, man, because it's like everything in the world tries to happen to this DVD to destroy it. I had to replace it in the case because it actually got hit. It actually got hit with a burst pipe. This, the leaflet in it is actually like water damaged and soaked, and I was able to save the DVD, and stuff like that. So I have to fight to keep this in the collection, and I've never seen it on Blu-ray. This is one of the few movies I actually do want to get on Blu-ray and upgrade.
It would be, how ironic would it be if it just caught on fire?
It could happen one day, and
sounds like it with the luck you've had with it. It could.
I wouldn't be surprised. That's the one I wouldn't be surprised.
So I think I said, of all the people that we do this stuff with, be it comics, whatever, I wonder if we have the 3 largest collections of physical DVDs between you, me, and Gratu.
I would say we do, and I want to reserve the right. Like I said, I got rid of my VHS collection. I also took a bunch of my DVDs for the Goodwill that I knew I wouldn't get rid of because they were like former rentals and stuff. Yeah. And I took a big chunk to get store credit at a place called McKay's in Knoxville. So I probably have gotten rid of about 300 DVDs over the last 10 years just because of space,
But I would imagine you still have hundreds, if not thousands, right?
Oh, I'm actually in the middle of putting them on a case, so I would probably say I have about 300. So at the peak, I probably had 600 DVDs, if I had to guess. I got about half of that now. Yeah.
Well, yeah, we had our record store sold DVDs, so I could get them dirt cheap. And
here's part of my superhero stuff. You can't see the floor; they're everywhere. I've got
I said, anybody that watches the video I did where I showed the collection and all that stuff, I do quickly show one of the walls of DVDs to give you an idea of how many of these white elephants I have.
Yeah.
But because there was a time, oh my God, probably about 15 years ago, where all the DVD companies were purging like the older movies, and they were selling them for $3 a piece, and they were like classic movies from the 30s, 40s, 50s. And I said, I was just buying those, as many as I could carry. And
well, us that have physical media and still keep it, I still can't believe this is a thing. You know what I mean? With people that they act like that's, you can still go to Walmart. Everybody is getting out of the DVD thing. If they're getting out of Blu-ray DVDs, the physical media. But people are going to realize you need this physical media if you really want the full effect. People are complaining on how like Supernatural season 1, they don't have the original soundtrack because they didn't get the streaming rights to the music, and it really takes away from the TV show. And I'm like, well, wait until Disney them start editing their movies on streaming, and you don't know the difference if you don't have this stuff. They've already done it.
You don't. I'm tired of having things either just edited for modern audience sensibilities, or just censored to not offend the today's snowflakes that public universities are churning out by the tens of thousands. So I said, if you don't need, it used to be, if you don't need the money or the space, keep them. well, there's no money now, so now it's just if you don't need the space, keep your physical media because it's going to become the only way you can get the version that was intended to be seen
Oh yeah,
or
I
heard.
predict there's going to be a resurgence in like I don't want to say swap meets, but maybe little conventions of people with their physical media. But not to jump around too much, but are we ready to see what movie John C picked? That's what I was waiting on.
I peaked
Oh, okay.
and I was wrong. You were right.
So there was yes. So his choices were Rocky 3 or E.T. and John C went with E.T. Oh yeah, I picked E.T. I knew it. Yes.
Remember how I mentioned The Thing before was on my list of movies that I haven't seen that everybody talks about? So is E.T. I have never seen it.
E.T. is not bad. It's actually a good movie. I think what might have done it for some people is how popular it got because it's not as good as the hype. Now, the 20th anniversary that they had of it in 2002,
Mhm.
I had to go back and forth and really think about taking my son. He was, how old was he? 5 or 6? Because of E.T. dies in the movie. And I was actually, as I got older and I was watching it 20 years later, I was like, is this I was kind of wondering if they're doing what they did in Robocop and were doing a little bit of subtext with, Jesus there. I was like, whoa, I had to think about it. But that film with my son had the exact same effect it did with me and some other kids and stuff when we saw it the first time. It holds up. He was into it. He's standing up in the aisles. He's like, what? He's talking back at the movies. It's a great movie. It's just a little. I would probably not take a kid that was 5 or 6 to see it now, seriously, because they don't know ET's coming back when he dies. That's really traumatic. We're not talking about Artex the horse dying off screen in the swamp. You know what I mean? They're showing him in a body bag in gray.
I did not see it because I know that some people kind of rebel against anything that gets popular.
Yeah, I'm
I've always felt,
cantankerous. I'm the
yeah,
same way.
I've always felt there's room for both.
Yeah.
Wow, that's how odd. I just looked up, saw a commercial of kids on a roller coaster, and he's wearing a Tron shirt. Didn't the first one come out in '82?
I
Man, the
mean,
foreshadowing is strong
so
with
did this VHS tape come out in '82.
No, but I said I didn't. It wasn't that because I'll watch a blockbuster and I'll turn around and watch a movie that was made in somebody's basement. I
Yeah.
just never got around to seeing it. And then there were years where I didn't watch many movies at all. And when I started watching movies again, I realized how many of the classics I'd never seen.
Yeah.
So I mean, I didn't see Forrest Gump till about 8 or 9 years ago.
Yeah.
Just to throw one out there, and then say nothing of all the classics from all the decades, like the 40s, 50s, 60s, and whatnot. But so I just never got around to seeing E.T. It just has nothing, no making a stand. I just didn't get to it.
At my age, about that time, the cantankerous thing, I'm definitely down with. I did that with comic books and a lot of things. As soon as it was popular, I'm like, it's done. But the thing about movies is, we were out. I was outside all the time and stuff like that. I mean, on Saturday mornings, I would watch TV a lot and off and on and stuff. But I mean, I was outside a lot, all the time. So I didn't really get influenced by what other people thought. I would see the movie. And I used to think I saw these things on opening weekend, but what I found out thanks to the internet is my timeline about when I saw these movies about be screwed up because you could get a movie 6 months later that came out, and that's the debut for a town. They didn't really put them out everywhere, and then if a movie did come out, you could order it back for a while, right? Stand By Me was at Woody's Home Video the same time it was in the theater in Richlands. You could rent it or go to the theater. And that was I was like, how's that possible? So a lot of these movies, I'm assuming it was 1982. That Dark Crystal, definitely 1982. I definitely saw that when it came out and stuff, right? But kind of lost what I was talking about. Let me get some coffee here. I've got 3 things going through my head. We're having a great conversation here.
Well, there's a site that I used yesterday just to make sure that listed the release dates of the movies.
Yeah.
And some of the movies from '82 came out in late '81, so I didn't put those on there. Because I found some other things that I could put on there.
There were movies I didn't see until '82, so I had like that came out in 81. They bled over. Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark. I probably saw at the beginning of 82. Um, Talk about being back, just kind of show you what things were like back then. Bo Derek, Tarzan the Ape Man. I saw this at a drive-in at about 8 years old in 82. You know what I mean? Imagine our surprise when we found out what kind of ape man movie this was. This was not your filmation Tarzan from Saturday morning and stuff, right? So I had to put that to the side. Escape from New York was 81, but I saw it in 82 in the theater.
Yeah.
But let's get back to Tron since you brought that up. Just kind of move this along. What were your thoughts on Tron? This is the original. This is the original VHS tape that came out in 82.
That's actually on my list with E.T. and The Thing. I've never seen it.
Really?
Yeah.
You know, Tron. He plays for the creators and stuff. Man, this thing is brilliant. If you know anything about computers, I think I learned more about how a computer works by watching this movie and having the visuals than anything. They talk about RAM. Do you know the concept of Tron?
Actually, I don't. I just know. I know very little about it.
Oh, okay. Did you play the video game at all in the arcades?
I've never played a video game in my life.
Okay. So Tron, I actually probably became more of a fan of Tron thanks to the video game than the actual movie. The movie was fantastic because it's black and white, and this is one of the first times I can remember seeing blue and red. You can see the blue and red colors in their costume. And basically what happens is that there's a company and there's some illegal stuff going on. And Jeff Bridges goes down to do some research. And next thing you know, the computer comes around, shoots him with something in the back. I gotta go back and watch this. Shoots him in the back, and he's inside the computer. So the actual movie takes place like in 3 minutes because you're in the computer and they're moving at speed, and you feel like he's there for weeks or days or something, right? And everybody's in this costume, and they have like these gladiator games. But at the same time, they show like RAM, bits and pieces inside of a computer, how a computer runs. This is where the memory is held, and everybody has avatars. It took me forever to try to figure out why do the avatars actually look like the actual people playing those characters. You know what I mean? Like playing those games and stuff, right? But the thing is Jeff Bridges, I think, is actually human, and he's trying to find Tron, who's going to save everything. And then he gets sucked back out, and he's got the proof to take down this evil conglomerate or save it from the takeover or something. I don't know. But meanwhile, it has the gladiator games and a little love interest and stuff and bad guys and things like that. And I swear this was like probably the best movie Disney's ever made, because before this, it had The Black Hole that came out in 79, but that movie had a look like it was from the 60s. This is where they kind of upped their game. Yeah. And I think this flopped too, man. But this is like a brilliant movie. Well, I think it's worth watching when you have some quiet time and you can't find anything else to watch, you know.
I think I have it. It wasn't no statement. Just like I said, there's a lot of things just slip through the cracks.
We got a comment. We got a comment here that I want to save because I want you to pick the movie. But did I ever tell you about my thing with Jeff Bridges movies? How he's playing the same character through every one of his movies. It's the same guy.
No,
you watch The Last Picture Show, and then you kind of get the idea that maybe he leaves and goes to college, and he pops up as that professor in the King Kong movie from '76. And then he moves up, and you get Against All Odds. He has that love interest, and then he dies, comes back as Starman, and then you can track all the movies up to Big Lebowski. That's why he's so weird.
I'm going to give you major props for starting with The Last Picture Show.
Mm-hmm.
The couple things I remember about that. Sybil Shepherd was stupid hot when she was young.
Yeah, she was hot. I thought she had oh, never mind. We'll talk about that later. I'm not going to talk about her boobies.
What was it? What was it? Eileen Brennan, or who was it that just it was the only thing she ever looked marginally attractive in? Because she was like the older waitress, there, and it's just because everything I saw her in after that was like, oh my god, this woman's like 40 years old and she looks 80. But I love that movie. I
need to find it because I've only watched it when I rented it. I may have maybe caught it on HBO or Showtime or something over the years, but love that movie. I can't believe I don't own it now that I'm talking to you. I've never run across it to buy. That's what's happened. It's never ran across it.
I may be totally off track, but I think that's from a Larry McMurtry novel. And I know that Peter Bogdanovich, I think, made the movie. And at the time he was making that, Orson Welles was like a house guest of his, or vice versa.
I heard Orson Welles somehow involved there, so you probably know more about me than I do. Yeah.
But anyway, that kids is for the 71 show that may or may not ever happen.
I'm down for it. I wasn't there, man, but I know.
Well, yeah, well, I said 1971. That would have had me at age 9.
I got you.
And I'm sure I wasn't going to anything like the Last Picture Show.
I got you.
But I'm trying to, and I'd have to do some research to find out what else came out that year. But let's see. What else came out? We won't spend much time on it because our host, is a man with 4 senses. But that's none. There it is. Drink it in, brother.
This is your time. This is your time because at 9, 10 years old, I never bought that was a woman.
You weren't supposed to. I mean, that's. But do you know the little interesting factoid about this movie? And it's had nothing to do with being embarrassed by being in it. Bill Murray has a major role in this.
Yeah.
You don't see him anywhere on the credits. Because in 1982, Bill Murray had become a major, major star through Saturday Night Live, because at the time that was a star maker. He didn't want his presence in the movie to overshadow. He didn't want people to think they were going to a Bill Murray movie.
Got you.
So he asked not to be billed, and he's not playing it. He's not. I mean, there are elements to his personality in this role, but it's not a typically zany Bill Murray character. So that I thought that was kind of interesting that he did that.
The whole thing is I could tell this was a good film. You know what I mean? Like I got it. You know what I mean? I get the merits of it and everything like that. It's just the casting of Dustin Hoffman, and I know that was part of it, but I'm young. I'm the scene where Gina Davis is in the dressing room in her underwear for whatever, for just the sake to move on here. When you have that, and then you have Dustin Hoffman standing behind her dressed the way he's dressed, I'm like, how could anybody even think? It just kept taking me out of the movie.
I never Durning, wasn't it?
Huh?
Wasn't it Charles Durning that was falling for Dustin Hoffman's character?
Yeah, the guy kept hitting on her. And then about 10 years ago, thanks to YouTube, I saw this thing where Dustin Hoffman was sitting there he went home and cried to his girlfriend or his wife because he went, now that I'm playing a woman, I'm thinking of all the interesting women I didn't take time to talk to and listen to. And I'm sitting here like, okay, Dustin, okay,
it's been a minute since I've seen this. In fact, it's how lazy I am. TCM, I guess, might be one of the few places that will still acknowledge he exists because he got canceled years ago. And they showed Kramer versus Kramer, which I'll tell you, here's how big movies were when you had no other entertainment options. I saw that in the theater.
Kramer versus Kramer, holy crap, man! Yeah, we need to do 80 or whatever show if you want to come back.
79.
Holy crap, man!
That was 79.
Wow. Yeah, that movie, I thought the biggest, thanks to Showtime, the two movies I thought that I was watching grown-up movies, one I was completely wrong about, it was Kramer versus Kramer, and the other one was Urban Cowboy. But Kramer versus Kramer tore me up. Oh, it still does. Well played, sir. Well played.
Yeah, I'd love to say that I could tie it to my own parents breaking up, but I don't remember them ever being together, so that would be a lie. But yeah, I said so. I mean, I remember very little of this. I do remember that I liked this a lot, though. And then the Bill
build it up, man. I don't want to come in here and like crap on your choice. I'm being light about it.
Don't worry. I'll crap all over some of yours by the end of the stream. So why not? No, but But since it's right here, and it's in a six. The Star Trek 2.
Are you? Wait a minute. Wait. Stop. You got to be kidding me. You got the Blu-ray. Okay. Nice.
We have a name for that in these circles, do we not? What
The
did you just
the,
do?
the Breen. Yes.
You just
Yes.
brained me. I mean, anyway, um, you know, and we're running out of time. But just once, I want to see a convention that William Shatner is a guest. I'd love to see him go in and go, I am a guest at this con. Just once. Just one time.
Hold on here. Hold on. Okay. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I read a comment wrong. We'll save that comment. Now, yeah, there's actually a convention around here in a place called Hillsville, Virginia, called Con. That's what he called it. And I hate that he called it that because the first year he had it, a bunch of people drove from 3 states coming in thinking it was a Star Trek convention and it was a comic book convention. So yeah, bad name for it. But since you've segued into this, man, to me, we had E.T. You understand, I love all these movies and stuff, right? But that Wrath of Khan, Star Trek #2. I'm going blank now because like I was ready to name the ear eels and everything. I was ready for the trivia and stuff, right? But to me, that was a film. Even if you're not into Star Trek, this is a film. You know what I mean? Like this was like a work of art. This thing was a roller coaster. It was emotional. It made you squirm in some parts. You got angry. I still do not believe that was Ricardo Montalban's real chest in it. But
Oh, I do.
he took Space Seed. Ricardo Montalban he'd been playing on Fantastic Island for so long, he was stuck in that role. So he had to watch Space Seed 3 or 4 times before he could get Kahn back. And my God, there is nothing like the visuals of that. I mean, I think this is like the best Star Trek movie. They've never topped it. And I love part 3 and part 1. Thank you very much. I fell asleep in part 1 in 79 when I saw it. And my stepdad jumped all over my ass when I told him I fell asleep. But
now, how do
yeah.
you feel about it?
Oh, I love it. I mean, I've always loved them. But what was it? SETI Alpha 4 was the planet they were on, and they took off the stuff, and you see Khan emerge, and he just happens to go over there and pulls those little worms off the. I mean, everything about it was like they committed. You know what I mean? And I mean, I get this is the one where I get goofy. I just like fall over this Wrath of Khan movie. Everything about it is perfect. You know, love it.
Yeah, I agree with it because I love the first one because it was okay. You don't realize today you don't even think about it because everything comes back in some way, shape, or form. But here was this show that we had as a kid, and they were making a movie out of it. That really, I can't remember if that had happened to that point. I mean, it's become commonplace now, but so it's like, wow, this show that we didn't appreciate when we had it because it really wasn't that successful, and it didn't, it lasted 3 years, and here we were getting a movie,
Right.
and I realized a lot of it was just getting reacquainted with the characters, and it kind of plods if you are, if you're like an action buff, it really didn't scratch that itch, but holy cow, Star Trek 2 did.
Yeah.
I mean, that gave you everything you could possibly, a classic villain from the series. The death of a major character, that we all knew was coming back as soon as they let him direct part 3. If I'm not mistaken, does not Kirk's son get croaked in this? That's the one, right?
3.
Oh, he dies in the third one?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's okay, but the rest of it is again, that's same excuse I make with comics. A lot of stuff has gone between these 2 ears, and unfortunately, a lot of alcohol went in there. So, if sometimes the memory's a little fuzzy, it's it.
The Wrath of Khan is one of those movies that I studied. You know what I mean? Like I've watched movies, but there's only a handful I like. felt like I studied while I watched them. Kahn was perfect in every way, man. It was so good. Oh my god.
And
But
Kirstie
yeah, all the
Alley.
same reasons you're thinking. What was cool talking to you is I can't remember if it was 77 or 78. I was either 4 or 5 years old, but I would get in the big wheel. And on Sundays, the stepdad, mom would be at work. I think she worked 5 in the morning to whatever, one or something at a hospital cafeteria. And the stepdad would walk down the trailer park to one of his friend's house. And I would pop in there. And on Sundays, you would get a Godzilla movie on TV and an episode of Star Trek. And my first Star Trek was the one where they brought back the Western. They were doing the wider high
Yeah.
noon. I'm going blank here. So all of a sudden, it's like I kind of discovered Star Trek in reruns, and the next thing I know, there's a movie. In the era of Star Wars. I keep telling people that in pop culture, movies, everything, there's pre Star Wars and after Star Wars, in my opinion. But this Wrath of Khan, I love Star Trek 3, the Search for Spock.
Yeah.
But that one is actually dated. When I watched that, that's 1984. You know what I mean? Star Trek Wrath of Khan, I can't tell if it's dated or not because like it's an elevated episode that feels more pure
Yeah.
Star Trek, like you were getting at. You know, I mean, they're quoting Moby Dick in it. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, there's some subtext. They even had subtext. You know,
Yeah, and yeah, thank you. I guess thank you, Star Wars, because if it's not for that, I don't know that anybody gets the idea to revive Star Trek. So there's
I got into that movie so much that when Khan is about to blow up the ship and he's been beaten and he comes up there and he had his severed fingers, I was just sort of like, I was like, oh, like I was in. Everything they did in that movie got me. You know what I mean? Clutching the pearls, but when he comes up and those fingers are severed, I'm like, I mean, it got, I got to calm down. I didn't know this was going to happen.
but I'll bet you that was his real chest because Ricardo Montalban, if you remember, he was a dancer when he was younger. He was always in fantastic shape, and I bet he did. And I might be wrong, but he might have done that just to show that he still could.
I don't know if it was an actual interview I saw or if it was an interview I read, but he said he did a lot of push-ups, and I never could figure out if he was joking or not.
Well,
So
I've seen some of his early roles, and he was always fit. And there's not a lot of flab in that John Travolta leisure suit he was wearing on Fantasy Island either.
right on. Oh wow. So I've been sitting on this one, but didn't the Swamp Thing movie by Wes Craven come out in '82? So I'm going to assume everybody knows who Wes Craven is. But you remember this little baby right here?
Yes, I do.
And I still have the receipt from where I bought this 2-sided DVD. This was a big deal when it came out on DVD, which blew my mind because they found out there was a cut of it. I think they showed in Europe or something, grain of salt, because I don't remember it, where people finally get to see Adrienne Barbeau's boobies. Now, are we seeing a theme here in the early 80s with all these movies? But Swamp Thing, when this movie came out, it was like I knew it was bad, but I was still down for it because it was a comic book movie. And when I saw the neon green secret formula and stuff like that, that was just enough to have it be cool. And then I remember watching this. I didn't see this in the theater. I don't know when this thing hit TV, but I know I saw it the first day that you could watch it, probably like on Showtime or something. But anyway, we didn't have HBO. We had Showtime. Everybody else I knew had HBO and the Fraggles. I was pretty pissed. I had Fairy Tale Theater. They had Fraggles. But anyway, there's a part where he stops a car and it bounces off to him. I couldn't figure out how they did that effect, but I also could see the zipper on the back of his outfit. So this is one of those things where I will acknowledge that it's so bad it's good. And I could not believe when they came out with the second one, thinking they were going to pull from Alan Moore, and then you got the TV show, and I'm just sort of like, wow, they're going for it.
I thought the TV show wasn't bad, or maybe it was because Kari Wurr was at the height of her hotness.
Was she in that?
She was in. I don't know if she was in all of them, but she was
Yeah.
in there at some point. Um, and the guy that played oh God, who's the villain? I'm blanking on his name.
Arcane.
Yeah, Arcane. Thank you.
Yeah.
That actor is just such a smarmy prick
Yeah.
that he kind of made the show.
The hair. The
Yeah.
hair.
Oh, yeah. Oh God, we should all have had hair like that at some point in our lives.
It's not quite a mullet and it's not quite a helmet, but it's
No,
all here.
if you watched soap operas like I wasted a lot of time doing, he had Max Holden hair. No one will get that reference, but if you ever see him on One Life to Live, the guy had quite the head of lettuce.
Oh no! In the summers, if you went to your grandmother's house, I was watching the Salem Strangler and the debut of Patch. That's all I'm saying. But go ahead, yeah.
So did I see that right? Because I've never seen that. I've never seen the movie. Did I see Louis Jourdan was in that movie? And who did he play? Was he pre Swamp Thing, or?
Well, I know exactly who you're talking about, but I can't place
Well, he was. I mean, good Lord, he was Gigi with Leslie Caron. So I mean, he'd made some very respectable movies, and I mean that's like Ray Milland ended up in The Incredible Two-Headed Transplant, sharing a body with Rosie Greer, and the man won the best actor Oscar in 1949 or 45 for The Lost Weekend, and here he is doing this. To me, Louis Jourdan ending up in that is comparable.
Well, wasn't this around the time where you would always try to get a classic star to give your movie some credit? Alec Guinness in Star Wars. Oh man, I just had a list in my head and I'm losing it. Alec Guinness in Star Wars. Jack Palance and Hawk the Slayer of all things. Oh God, I had two more movies, but it seems like they always tried to get a classic star.
Well, okay, Alec Guinness lent his gravitas to Star Wars. I think I'm going to guess Louis Jourdan might have either had a thing for schlock or maybe needed to work there. I mean, because sometimes it's one or the other. And and Jack Palance, his career was all but over.
Yeah.
And then he got, a couple things like
it's the Ed Wood trick.
Then there was Harry and the Hendersons, and he got to do Batman. Then there was the one-arm push-ups at the Oscars and
City Slickers.
Yes. Yeah, City Slickers. That's what I was. I get Harry and the Hendersons. But yeah, that's but either way, yeah, I said did not see Swamp Thing, but
I love how you knew all this stuff about him. Like I just recognized him. I had no idea he was such an elevated star back in the day. You know what I mean? Like I just knew he was a classic actor.
Yeah.
You know, and he was to me, he was the classic actor in this slot. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's always interesting when you see somebody like that. It's like, because you got it the first thing, how the hell did he end up here? Or how did she end up here and whatnot? But,
see, as a kid, I always wanted him to play a vampire because it's like, to me, remember, I'm a kid. I'm like 9. Up here around hillbillies and stuff, right? And the way he would speak, I'm like, this guy could be a great vampire. That's what I remember. I remember that's my thoughts.
You're talking about Louis Jourdan, or it might be Jordan. Hell, I don't know. Maybe I'm just.
I don't know. Yeah.
Well, because you did get that with Jack Palance. He was Dracula in the Dan Curtis production.
I found Jack Palance through Ripley's Believe It or Not as a kid. That's the thing about me coming up after all this stuff. You know what I mean? So. To me, he was perfect. And then he was in Hawk the Slayer. You know,
yeah. No, Louis could have been. He could have played Dracula in the version that Frank Langella played him, because he was probably still youngish enough looking to have done that.
Yeah,
but so we'll never know. So let's see. Who's up? You or me?
You go ahead and double dip because you brought up something and I jumped on it.
No, go ahead. Throw one up there.
Okay. Well, I'm going to throw one up that I cannot believe. The one I could not believe was 1982. I mean, a lot of these movies, some are dated, and then there's movies that come out after these movies that actually feel older than them, right? Like, I can't believe this movie is 1982, but there's a 1984 movie called My Tutor that I thought was older than this. I thought the pirate movie was from 1980. It's 1982. But then we have this movie that I think is nostalgic. You can tell when it's set. but it's such a solid movie, it's such a big piece of pop culture that I forget that it's produced by Steven Spielberg, story by Steven Spielberg, but I always thought that this was based like on a Stephen King novella. I could be wrong, right? But it's Poltergeist that came out with its own little tragedies that they felt everybody was on it
Yeah.
because they used real skeletons in the movie. Supposedly, they thought it was cursed. But yeah, the only one worth watching, despite the fact that the second one, which one had the Amish looking dude in it with the teeth?
You're asking the wrong person. I
Yeah.
haven't seen
Anyway,
that one.
yeah. But Poltergeist, man, this still holds up in my opinion. And I also love that, like, it feels like that Steven Spielberg suburbia thing. This feels like it could be the same neighborhood that ET took place in.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, Poltergeist, it holds up. There's, Craig T. Nelson. Yeah, this is the first thing I saw him in. Um, and then, of course, the little girl. I'm trying to think what her name was. Who knows? There's people that know out there, right?
Yeah.
But this was a staple. I mean, this movie was talked about as soon as it came out. It feels like it never really faded away because people were still fans of it. And then there's all kinds of movies and TV shows doing the "I'll be back." I mean, they're back. They're back.
Yeah.
The Freebirds, when they returned to for the wrestling, had Buddy Roberts saying "We're back." Everybody referenced this. You never forgot about it. And then all the tragedies and everything that happened throughout the years to the people in the movie kept it going.
Did the little girl say we're back or we're here? Or they're here?
We're here, they're back. Yes, whatever, yeah, something like that.
Because I have in my head this, the little girl goes, they're here. Is that from that?
Yeah, but everybody used the cadence and stuff. Yeah, she's that's what, well, right there, the TV screen, the poltergeist were whatever it was talking to her. And then I was watching this, The Omen and Salem's Lot all around the same time on Showtime. Those movies didn't freak me out, but you get something like The Babysitters with the calls coming from inside the house that feels real, and a TV movie called Bad Ronald. The things that felt like they could really happen freaked me out. I never had any problem realizing these were just movies, if that makes sense,
And once again, I have to give you credit for finding a way to mix the Freebirds into this.
Hey, man.
I've been watching a lot of old Freebirds promos because I'll get YouTube puts me down crazy rabbit holes sometimes. But and he was introducing it was like their first appearance on Georgia Championship Wrestling.
Walking, talking, self-destruction. Yeah.
And Gordon Soley was talking to them, and you're Michael P.S. Hayes. And he goes, and he's trying to introduce the group, and he goes, and I got my Freebirds. They're compromised of. And he's trying to say comprised. And that just cracked me up.
I watched wrestling because of the stepdad. I've got to find out when Kevin Sullivan turned bad guy. On a Saturday morning, he came out with a red bandana, and this was him turning into a bad guy in that match. But I was getting beat up by a guy named Paul and a guy named Terry in the trailer park, and my stepdad made me sit down. I watched some wrestling. I saw the Freebirds Blind Junkyard Dog and stuff, right? It was on. I mean, I didn't really get into it, but it was on. But he set me down. So I'm watching Kevin Sullivan turn into a bad guy. I'm seeing all this stuff. I knew Kevin Sullivan. I watched enough. Kevin Sullivan was a baby face, even though we didn't have the words, but he was like choir boy, good guy. You know what I mean? I remember him helping 3 or 4 wrestlers came out and helped another wrestler just got the shit beat out of him. And he's in the background taking baby steps trying to help. He was that choir boy, So he turned into a bad guy. I watched the match and I went, oh, I get it. And I got up, walked straight out across the parking, the trailer lot, and I found Paul, who had beat me up about 4 or 5 times, and I beat the shit out of him, cracked his tooth, and had him in a camel clutch with my little brother in his face in a diaper talking shit to him. Because he saw me get off the bus and saw the guy beat me up. So go ahead. Sorry, but Freebirds were huge in the house,
Yeah, that's I said I thought they were great. I said, and I came across, do you remember Tommy Rich?
Wow, the Wildfire Tommy Rich, yeah. Yeah,
Like,
everybody loved him. Yeah.
he was shooting on the Freebirds, and he basically said all Michael Hayes could do is talk.
Yeah.
He hated him. I mean, to this day, in real life, hated Michael Hayes. And I thought it was interesting.
I'm trying to do. Yeah, I'm trying to do the promo. I know the promo by heart, and I can't get it out when he's introducing everybody.
Oh yeah,
Did you ever see them debut in Memphis where Terry Gordy brought P.S. Hayes out and he had a towel wrapped around his head because he was the most beautiful man? He's going to. You've got to get ready, everybody.
yeah.
Lock up your girlfriends and your wives and your mom because I'm going to show you the most beautiful man in the world. That's a pre-beard P.S. Hayes. Yeah.
I will say that arguably the most charismatic wrestler of that time, because whatever it was, Michael Hayes had it. Because I mean, I said it just worked, and
It was him and Dusty. Him and Dusty.
Yeah, and I said there's no Von Erichs without the Freebirds, and vice versa. Probably if you go down through history, but it's and I just derailed myself talking about why were we talking about the Freebirds in the first place? Well,
because I brought him up. I tied him into.
Okay, so that's right. Yeah, that's how quickly it just pops right out of my head. How's it going, Meyer? Thanks for stopping by.
Hey, Meyer. All right. All right, you ready for another movie? Because like we can do a wrestling.
Oh,
show.
that's what we need to get Rod, because Rod is a passionate wrestling fan, and just like you do, like maybe the three of us and anybody else that can talk, they can talk the talk, and do a wrestling stream.
Brother, I'll bring out my almanacs, my wrestling almanacs from the 20 years ago. I got a box of wrestling almanacs. Like I'm ready to go, man. So, are you ready for something a little bit more innocent? We've been talking horror, and we'll get back to it. But you ready for something a little bit more innocent? Kind of innocent, because this is still dark. People don't realize that in the 80s, everything started getting dark. You know what I mean? In the movies. That's why Stranger Things, the first season, tapped into it. Even though it was great, there's still a bit of darkness. But this made me get a troll book order when I saw this because I had to read, Miss Brigsby and the Secrets of NIMH. Don Bluth. I have been to me, Don Bluth is like a staple of the 80s for me with the video games, Dragonlance, Space Ace. And my wife had last week tried to get me to watch All Dogs Go to Heaven. I kind of skipped that and Rockabilly. But here's my VHS clamshell that I kept. But Secret of NIMH, the animation. I like animation where they give you those quiet moments and you only hear a sound or two. And that's part of what is great about this. When she's walking in the tree to see the owl, when they're just panning into her cinder block out in the middle of the field, the way the crow is animated, a lot of these guys were working for Disney, and Disney had a lot of rules what you could and could not animate. So they worked on the weekends since about 79, I think, and broke every rule that Disney said they couldn't do. And this thing is a masterpiece. And it's like I said, it's got some darkness in it. There's parts that get scary because they're mice. Is this owl going to eat her? Her husband's dead. Why do all the rats of NIMH? Who are they? What's their origin and all this stuff? This thing is fantastic. Please tell me you've seen this one.
I haven't.
Okay. You have homework, sir. Of all the movies I'm talking about, Secret of NIMH is the one you need to watch this one. I'll mail you this and you can mail it back when you're done.
I'm sure I can find it. I apologize for the coughing fit. Why the hell did I quit smoking if I'm still hacking 26 days later?
You're going to hack. It took me a year to stop hacking. So
yeah, well, I've quit. I've quit for great lengths of time, several times. I don't remember being this bad, but I digress. I'm going to go to one that just because I said I noticed that we're already a decent amount of time in, and I don't want to miss any. So I'm going to go to my.
Hold on, Paolo is back. He came back from lunch, so he gets to see your choice here.
Okay, here's one that I think we can both agree on. I'm sure we've both seen. I know I've seen this a multitude of times. Creepshow.
That is on my list. I don't know where my copy is. Yes.
This, I have seen this so many times. Yeah, the 5 vignettes, and I love the opening, the EC Comics esque opening.
Yeah.
And yeah, I said it's because the guy, that's why God made fathers, right before it doesn't end well for him in the opening segment. He's also one of the sheriffs. I think he's the sheriff in Halloween 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it's this, like I said, this, this, whether it's the, Father's Day, where's my cake, Bedelia, or the Ted Danson, Leslie Nielsen, just
That's my favorite out of that one.
is your
Yeah.
knight in shining corduroy, and yes,
That one or the second one that's got the monkey in the box under the steps.
oh, that's I think the second one was
Yeah.
the Stephen King one, wasn't it?
And well, that's what I was going to say. The first, you're going to have to help me here because
Yeah.
those two merge in my head. You
Yeah,
understand?
okay.
Yeah.
Father's Day. Stephen King becomes the plant. I can hold my
Meteor.
breath for a long time.
Yeah.
Then there's the Tasmanian Devil one with Hal Holbrook, Fritz Weaver, and Adrian Barbeau. And then the fifth one is E.G. Marshall with the Bugs.
Okay. Yeah, the Bugs one. Yeah, that was a good one to end it on. But this is George Romero, Stephen King doing their basically it's a tribute to EC Comics, man. Yeah, this is Tales for the Crypt, Tales from the Dark Side, Monsters, all that stuff before it happened came from that. Oh, well played, sir. I mean, that's a great choice.
The sequel was compared to this. The third one was just no. But this, this, everything about this worked. I don't know if it's right place, right time, or whatever, but this was just, I love this.
So just to kind of think out of the box a little bit, the Warriors with the new opening and what the director and them said about it's actually kind of a comic book movie, right? Even though it's based on history. So with that, with all the stuff they referenced from EC Comics and stuff without saying EC Comics, unless they're talking the interviews and stuff they didn't put in the movie, would you consider that a comic book movie?
If not, it's comic book movie adjacent because it had the oversized comic based on the movie, which I have. I'm going to say yeah, but I mean, I guess technically yes, it is.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's brilliant no matter what. That's just one of the things that like it just gives it more to talk about and stuff, just to reference and all that stuff. That is probably seriously the first time, and I did not see the movie in '82. I know I saw it before I saw Highlander, and Highlander came out in '86. There's a whole thing in my head about how I know that. But yeah, that was I was actually reading. I can look up the year I saw it. I was reading Eyes of the Dragon by Stephen King, the year that book came out, maybe the same time I rented that from Woody's Home Video. So I saw the first and the second one pretty close together, like within a year or two of each other. And I watched that one over and over and over. That was one of the things that I would keep renting every time I saw it, man. Oh, God, it's so good. That's probably one of the best ones we've talked about, honestly, I think.
This is, I don't know where this fits in my all-time top list, but I'm sure it's in the top 50 somewhere. Yeah. And but yeah, this, like I said, this was, and Leslie Nielsen, his character in his segment, this was after Airplane, and it was the same year that he did Police Squad, and he's pretty hammy in this, so you could tell where his future was going.
Yeah. Oh man, it's just so good. I mean, they're just ingrained in me, man. That the beach one with Ted Danson, the one you're talking about with Ted Danson, that's my favorite one out of it. My second favorite one is probably the meteorite that puts the moss or whatever all over Stephen King, and that's because I didn't know that was Stephen King. I was like, what an odd man, you know? I was like, who is this? You know?
Yeah, and there also, if you remember, he's watching wrestling.
Yeah,
and it's like WWF, I believe, from like 1981 or whatever, because So I think I want to say you hear Gorilla Monsoon, maybe.
I can't believe I don't know. I mean, I can see them watching the wrestling.
I think it was. I'd have to watch it again, but yeah, this, like I said, a whole lot of fun, and I said, God, I think my favorite is either the third one. I don't know. Mine's like a three-way tie. The the one with the monster under the stairs
Yeah,
one. The first segment, Father's Day, and the Leslie Nielsen Ted Danson one, because that was and that's weird. It's like 82 is a good year for Ted. He might not have lived through Creep Show, but he started playing Sam Malone. And did you know that that Ted Danson knew absolutely nothing about baseball?
yeah, yeah. Actually, I swear I think he said that like on the Today Show or something when Cheers finally really did take off before I was going to school. Before I'd go to school on TBS, you'd have an hour of cartoons and Three Stooges, but every now and then it would be turned to the Today Show, depending on because you wanted to see if school was out and you had to read the ticker. And I
Yeah.
actually remember him doing an interview with some of the cast where he said that I don't know anything about baseball. And everybody was having a good laugh. So, all right. Man, yeah, I want to watch Creep Show, man. I don't have it. I think I had it on VHS, but I do not have it anymore.
That's the thing about these kind of streams. It makes you want to go back and watch everything
Oh
again.
yeah, man. So here's the pinnacle of 82 for me because I keep telling people the magic of 82 is that there's a little bit of darkness and everything. And this is one of the movies you can watch and actually forget these are Muppets. But Dark Crystal. Have you seen Dark Crystal?
No.
Man, okay. That's all right. But the Dark Crystal, there's so much in this flop too. I couldn't believe it. I remember watching this in the theater and just being blown away because like I grew up on the Muppets, Sesame Street, Electric Company, all that stuff, and then to see this, what they could do with it, and this little DVD set with the Blu-ray digital code in it actually is a book that opens up that shows how long they worked on it and what they were doing, and how it just kind of like really broke Jim Henson a little bit that it flopped. I'm just glad it's had a life of its own and stuff. And manga, the TV show, and Netflix, I couldn't get through it. It was not fantastic. Uh, there's more they could have done in it and stuff like that. But this holds up. I have the Marvel Super Special with the poster in it that they did that Brett, they came in and did this. I mean, I got tons. I just grab anything Dark Crystal when I see it and stuff like that, man. I think this thing is brilliant. There's only one part in it I really didn't like, and it's when the female Gelfling, I think her name's Kira, debuts that she has wings, and when our boy here, who thought he was the last Gelfling, is surprised she has wings, she acts like he's dumb, like because you're a boy. I hate shit like that. Tearing down somebody to elevate another character. I hate that shit. But other than that, it's a perfect movie, except for that one little part that just I'm like, she's get off it.
Gee, imagine us as comic book fans having a problem with tearing down one character to elevate another.
I
Like,
was
we've never
agreeing.
seen that.
It has nothing to do with a woman talking to a man that way. It has to do with a character treating somebody like they're.
No, that's
Yeah.
yeah. It's I don't know why I haven't seen some of the things that I haven't seen. It's no rhyme or reason. Yeah, and I know that like God, uh, the kid that runs the Geeky Puppet Show would probably kill me for some of the things I haven't seen. But no, that sounds. I mean, they all sound great. I mean, I just
Oh, this thing is smart. It's kind of like Land of the Lost sneaking in on Saturday morning cartoons. And it took them 2 seasons to realize they were writing it too smart for the audience and went, hey, you know what I mean? That's kind of like what this is when it comes to the world of Muppets. You're watching this like this. They're talking about things like the Great Conjunction. I mean, there's sci-fi and fantasy elements in here. This is like I'm trying to think of a band. This is kind of like a Hawkwind album. I'm like, I could feel so many influences in there and big ideas, and they don't spoon feed you
yeah.
anything that's really going on. That's going on.
No, that sounds like a lot of fun. Actually, that's
Yeah, it is. And I can't be objective about it because there's nothing like this. This is much. I had the same feeling of watching Star Wars in the theater, the first one, for the first time. I had the same feeling watching the Dark Crystal. Man, I was just like, they built this whole world. There's a little part where they did the world building where all they're doing is panning like a swamp or the forest or something. And you see this little animal jumping by, and it turns out what you thought was a cave, a big green grass covered, rock with a cave hole in it. It jumps by, and all of a sudden it just eats it. It turns out it was a monster, like an animal. There's so many little details in there. Oh, what you got for us, sir?
All right. Well, another one that one of the things that since in my life I've read so many comic books that I tend to, with other forms of entertainment, I tend to not get as deep into this. So a lot of my choices are not genre related, but
Well, hold on. We'll do comments after this one. Yeah, go ahead, man. Yeah,
I said, we ain't partners, we ain't brothers, and we ain't friends.
it's on my list. Yes.
You're going to finish this one. And if Gans gets away with my money, you're going to be sorry you ever met me.
Go ahead, man. No, go ahead.
Now you're supposed to say, I'm already sorry.
But my problem is when I see that, that great movie, funny movie, don't get me wrong, right? But all I can remember from it is Roxanne. Roxanne. That's
Okay.
that's my tagline for the movie.
Okay. Well, the opening scene where the standoff between Kate's and Gans, and he's already shot the other cop, and the cop's telling him to surrender, or Gans is telling Kate's to surrender, and the wounded cop is coming down the stairs going, "Don't do it, Jack! God damn it, don't you do it!" And he surrenders. He turns around, just blows the guy away. Do you know who that cop is? Did you ever watch Breaking Bad?
Oh my God! Yeah,
That's Mike Ehrmantraub.
Nice.
As a young man.
Nice.
Yeah, that's I said this movie. I think this is as close to a perfect movie as you can get. They work so well together.
Yeah, this is pre-lethal. I mean, this is buddy. Yeah.
This I would argue this might be the birth of the buddy cop movie.
Yeah,
and even though one of them's a con, but yeah.
I'm trying to think what the word is. The aesthetic. I don't know if it's the direction of photography or stuff like that, but I mean that stuff led up to like how Beverly Hills Cop and stuff was shot, how Lethal Weapon was shot. I mean, I get into like the aesthetic of stuff. It had a whole unique look to it too when you watched it.
Well, Eddie Murphy's a freaking revelation in this. I mean, we knew from Saturday Night Live that he had something, but and Nick Nolte it's almost like Eddie Murphy made him better.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Nick Nolte. I mean, if you've ever seen like North Dallas 40,
yeah,
wonderful movie, and he's great in that. But this is just like, I mean, there's so many things like I said where Eddie Murphy goes, what are we eating? I'm hungry, Jack. And he goes into a vending machine, throws him a Zag nut, and says, "There's your goddamn dinner." And just the whole movie's just full of that.
I can't believe I'm blanking out on this because I'm realizing I probably haven't watched this since the 90s. You know what I mean? But is there not a scene in it where he's sitting there like, I had a bad day. I was in a bus that flipped 3 times. I had a gun and all this. Is this that movie?
I don't remember that. I remember most of this movie, and I can quote a lot of it, but that doesn't sound familiar from the first one. But yeah, Myers said 48 Hours from San Francisco. Yeah, there's a line there where Annette O'Toole plays Nick Nolte's girlfriend. And she said the coldest winter I ever spent was the summer I spent in San Francisco. That's her. Yeah. That's the line I remember from her.
Somewhere I saw a version of that line in another movie where they were like, the summer I ever spent was in Chicago. And I'm like, I would catch stuff like that. Oh man, I need to go back and watch this movie because the Roxanne thing was funny because on the bus before we saw the movie, we would make fun of the Roxanne song. We didn't know it was about a hooker, but it was just so funny how he kept saying Roxanne over and over. We did what Eddie Murphy was doing on the bus as a burn, just to be stupid,
The little shit in Commando, the greatest movie of all time. where Arnold's holding him over the ledge, and he goes, "You said you killed me last." He's also in 48 Hours. He's the little shithead running towards the car, and Eddie Murphy just opens the car door to stop him, and he just smashes into that and flips over. He goes, "Oh, Luther, did that hurt when you slammed into the car door? It looked real painful." It's just that's
it.
Yeah, that guy. I said that guy who's actually he's showed up in a lot of those things in the 80s, but yeah, that I said I absolutely loved. Yeah, okay, thank you, Meyer. I knew that I knew that wasn't an original, but I forgot who she was quoting in the movie.
So NIM was the National Institute of Mental Health. Is that a spoiler? It's a 42-year-old movie, and probably the book came out in 77, I think, or earlier. Did we talk about Porky's yet? Believe it or not, I have seen all those raunchy genre movies. It's on my list and stuff. And I did own Porky's at one time, but I can watch those movies and have a laugh. But they kind of came and went. It started with Animal House and stuff. And they'll try to make who was it? Oh my God, the guys that did Superbad and stuff. I can't believe I'm going blank. Seth Rogen.
Yeah.
They tried to bring back the genre a little bit of the raunchy stuff. Dark Crystal was great. The Muppets were reminiscent of SNL Muppets. Yeah, a lot of people don't know that Jim Henson and his Muppets were on the cast in season 1 of Saturday Night Live. They came up with whole new characters. Walter Hill, that's the 48 Hours director, I think. San Francisco. Everybody's on this, man. Yeah, there's the Mark Twain quote you were talking about. And we got Meyer all over this. Twain moved here after his... Oh, Meyer is from San Francisco. Okay, I didn't know that. Twain moved here after his wife and daughter died. He was deep sadness, and the city helped him to write again. Interesting. Uh-oh. We have a request here from Graphic Man.
Oh, no, he missed it. I did that earlier.
It was beautiful.
I put on the wig and everything, and then then Tim shaved his head and played Daddy Warbucks. It was beautiful.
Yeah, it went from Tootsie to Annie real quick, and he was on it. He was on it, man. It was. I teared up a little bit. It was beautiful. We'll do maybe we'll make a short. Well, you've already told me you don't like dystopian movies, but there's a movie that, if there was ever a movie that deserved an Oscar, but just because it takes place in a desert and weird things happen and stuff, people need to stop sticking their nose up in the air, because everybody loves this, except maybe you, after you told me and stuff like that. But The Road Warrior.
No, I actually like that one.
Yes, there we go. So that's going to go up here. But Road Warrior is a freaking classic. It's still going. I can't believe that. I'm trying to think what's his name? The guy that wrote and directed it and stuff. He has Furiosa coming out in a few months, and I think he's like 80 years old now. George Miller, and this is the guy that, if you look, you would not believe, when you look at his body of work, you would not believe. This is the guy that wrote and directed Babe and Babe Pig in the City, I think. But this was in 82. It was a sequel to an Australian movie he did, and called Mad Max, I think in 79.
Yeah.
And this influenced, again, Lord Humongous was a wrestler. They ended up taking that character and actually put him on Memphis Wrestling or something. All the stuff that happens in this, man. This was like a staple of TV, and it had all kinds of B-movie ripoffs and stuff. And Mad Max, I remember I walked to the mall again. I remember in 85, I think I walked down there, and this movie, the Thunderdome movie, was packed every time I went. I went and watched the sequel 2 or 3 times at the theater. Not a great movie, but it was Road Warrior. You still got to see what happened. Doesn't hold up, but this is the only one I'd have anybody watch. And Fury Road was good, where we brought it back years later. The little trivia about this is that to do the character right, somehow Mel Gibson is a genius. He was like, well, the little things I did was I cut my own hair, because that's what he would do out in the desert. He actually gave himself a haircut, and that's what gave the little things like that is what gave the character its own little look and stuff. And then I'll say one more thing. What gets me is how the movie opens. It kind of pans out of Mad Max, and at the end of the movie, it pans back into him. It's got like a little bookend shot there that just like is a little detail that's a candle on the cake and stuff, right? But this is fantastic. If you want to, yeah, if you want to get out of here, you want to listen to me. And then you had the little feral kid with the razor sharp boomerang. Everybody was convinced that was his kid, his baby, that may or may not have been. Well, he was killed in the first one, but everybody thought that might have been his kid had survived. You know, this is the zeitgeist. So I'll shut up about it. This is another one of those movies I still get excited about.
Oh, that's I said I saw that one. Yeah, I remember seeing that one in the theater. I know I saw Mad Max in the theater. Yeah, Paul is saying he's the only person on the planet who thought Thunderdome was the best. I want to say I don't know that I'd say it's the best, but it was the most commercially viable. I think it was because by that time it had all the money behind it. You know, the star power, Tina Turner playing the whatever it was. So I mean, I could see that it was definitely the other two were just like grit personified.
I'm so glad you said Tina Turner because I still in a playlist have a song from that, and it's not the we don't need another hero,
Yeah.
but she's got this song that is so underrated because it's like out here in the desert, son, every step you take could be your final one. I mean, the soundtrack got better over the years and stuff, man. Tina Turner actually in her character came out on stage as that character to sing a couple of those songs. I mean, they had the costume for her and stuff. Yeah. But yeah, oh God, what is that song? I'm not getting on my phone to find it. But yeah, some of the soundtrack I thought was kind of hokey, if you will, back in the day. Thought it was a little bit manufactured. I mean, I've always been a music snob. I'm not gonna lie, and I'm not ashamed of it. But I could tell when they manufactured a song and it was soulless. But somehow, over the years, I've chilled out, and now I like love some of that stuff. And that particular song I'm talking about. So yeah, the same guy, George Miller, did Happy Feet. That's the one I blanked out on.
Okay,
He made Babe and Happy Feet. And I can't get over the fact the guy's like almost 80 years old, if he's not 80 now, and he's still making great movies that look fantastic. We call the Road Warrior Mad Max 2, although in Portugal, Mad Max 1 was the Motorcycles of Death. The Motorcycles of Death I did not know. I mean, it came a part of the culture in the 80s, just like Jason and all them. Road Warriors got to be one of my favorite films. That's Rob Brown. Paolo's all over this, man. I'm the only guy that you've already read this one. I'm the only guy on the planet who thinks Thunderdome is the best Mad Max movie. I like them all. You know what I mean? But like,
yeah, so did I. I mean,
yeah, I'm not. I mean, I said I went to the theater about 3 times to see it. I couldn't get enough of it at the time. You know. Yep, Thunderdome too. I love how the idea of Thunderdome became part of pop culture. You know, we're going to the Thunderdome. Everybody knows what you're talking about when you say that. Grit Personified is good. Mad Max is a disaster movie. Road Warrior is a post-apocalyptic western. Thunderdome is a post-apocalyptic dark fantasy. I think it's fantastic. You know, I like how it hasn't been exploited to death. You know, with toys.
But I gotta ask you, Paul. I mean, do you agree that the third one just didn't feel quite as it felt like it? I don't know, there's something about that, and it's not a knock by any stretch. That the third one just didn't have the same, just like God, I love this, but I need a shower afterwards type of feeling that
it had a budget. I think it got a budget, and that ruined it. Not ruined it.
I get it. But honestly, by that time, can you go to that well a third time of the because that's what worked for the first two. I think people, I mean, it was ready to grow to the next step. Now maybe that's what stopped it, or maybe it was the story was told. But you're right. I mean, it felt different because it had more of a budget.
And when you have more of a budget, if I take an educated guess, I have no idea. But when you have more of a budget, you have more people watching it and more people sticking their hands in it.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm thinking maybe that's it had a weird pacing. You know what I mean? That's the thing. It had a weird pacing and it had like weird scenes that I was like, all these kids are running out. It felt like it felt like Temple of Doom when all the kids ran over the dune coming at him and stuff, you know.
the other one comes to mind is Terminator 2. As far as like, the first movie had a feel, the second movie had money behind it. It was still a Terminator, but it felt different. And like the third Mad Max felt different.
I agree with you. Two great movies, but they should not be watched back to back. They feel like two completely different franchises.
That's fair. I will agree with that.
Oh man, I tell you what, I didn't know I was going to enjoy this month. I got all the feels. I feel like my 12-year-old, I feel like my 9, 10, 11, 12-year-old me is trying to bust out. Like, I've been here the whole time. Okay, so Phantasm, Parker Rizzo's here. We're sticking to 82, but if we were going back to like 79, Phantasm to me is like this time capsule of 1979. If it's got like the kids, how they really had their hair. I felt like the kid had his mom cut his hair and he's wearing the clothes he showed up in. So Phantasm is like, I get it. I love it. But like I said, I get stuck on the nostalgia of the time, I'm not saying it's dated, but I'm like, big Master Blaster fan. He has the mind of a child. Nice. Man, everybody's popping in now, man. Thunderdome is not just the money behind. Wait a minute. Thunderdome is not just the money behind. You can see it, yes, but the story's different. There's hope in Thunderdome there isn't in the Road Warrior.
Yeah, okay, now I've got to. Okay, I know we're sticking to 1982, but I got to ask because you said you're a music snob.
Yeah.
What's your all-time favorite album?
My all-time favorite album, not my favorite band. My favorite album.
Favorite album.
I don't want to get away from the Road Warrior too much, but it's right here, sir.
Okay, so that is your number one album of all time.
The Wall.
Right.
Yeah, I go back between Quadrophenia, Tommy, Little Beatles there, and Doolittle by the Pixies. But I have to say, I think this is it.
Okay, that's because I've been working record stores for 34 years or so, give or take. So I had to ask.
Oh yeah, man. Let me finish these two, and we can. But Paulo, I love Paulo's take on that. That's very cool. The hope, the idea of hope in it. I get it. Yeah. To be honest, the first Terminator felt like a horror film on times. Terminator 2 just felt like more action. Both great movies, but I think everybody agrees they're very different. You know what I mean? And not in a bad way. Gratu. When I saw the Road Warrior, I love how Road Warrior is the one that made everybody pop. Have you noticed that? This is the movie that made everybody pop. Maybe E.T. wasn't the movie of 1982. Maybe it was the Road Warrior. When I saw the Road Warrior in the theater, I told my brother this feels more like a comic book than any other movie I've ever seen. I can see that, man. Oh, so good. I was a fan of the dude with the gyrocopter, man. Yeah, when I found out he was in Attack of the Clones, Star Wars, I mean, it's like anything I needed from those I took anything to make my mind enjoy those prequels more than I possibly was struggling to. And that actor there, the gyro, you know who I'm talking about? The gyrocopter dude had the rattlesnake.
Do or not?
Oh, he had the old timey goggles and leather cap of a pilot, and he's real skinny. He's the one that got chained up. The funniest scene in it is kind of like, if there's a funny part in it, is that they're on some kind of rock formation looking down at the motorcycle gang and all that stuff like that. So Mad Max has got his little binoculars or something, and the dude that he's got chained up, that he's taken prisoner and stuff, causing his gyrocopter and stuff, he whips out this great big huge telescope, and he ends up taking it. I thought Creepshow would lead to more horror anthologies like they were in the 60s and 70s, but no. See, that's where I think we got things like Tales from the Dark Side, the TV show. I got the whole season set in there, all seasons in there.
And that was mid-'80s, right? That was like 85 that started?
I want to say it was 84, but I could be wrong. I don't know. Where it was syndicated, you never knew where you got to remember syndication killed a lot of things. Other parts of the country got Tales from the Dark Side and things like the Freddy TV show.
Yeah.
They had the things like that, Freddy's Nightmares and stuff. You would hear about them, but you never knew when they would pop up.
Yeah, I knew it was somewhere in that time. And and we, at the end of the decade, we got Tales from the Crypt. So I think
Yeah.
that actually did beget some, future things like that.
But I get where he's wanting more movies and stuff. But I think the TV show. I like the idea of the TV shows better because it lasted longer. You know what I mean? Like we didn't have to just get a spot here and spot there. And George Romero was over Tales from the Dark Side, and it did get 2 movies in the early '90s.
And honestly, loosely, the Friday the 13th series, remember that?
Yeah, yeah.
Where, obviously
That's
was trading on the
one of
name.
them had an antique shop or something where all the items were cursed and they had
That was it, which
yeah.
was which was basically recycled for Warehouse 13, just in a lighter vein. But
Nice.
yeah, the Friday the 13th, there was the antique shop where they things kept getting out, and they'd have to go basically put the genies back in the bottle.
And that Friday, I don't know if it's still there, but not that long ago, Tubi had that Nightmare on Elm Street show where he's pretty much Freddy was just the host, but it had 1 or 2 episodes that actually had Freddy in it that tied into the movies.
Yeah, I don't think I ever saw any of those. I was a big
There's
fan
a
of Friday the
reason.
13th, but probably because I thought, the actress that just went by Roby,
Yeah.
she was kind of hot and a wild, because having come out of the 80s and seeing all this, going to bars and stuff, seeing all those wild haired chicks, it just kind of worked at the time.
Well, the 80s and the 90s was very interesting because you went from women to me looking like women, even though they went way out there with some of the stuff, peacocking, I guess, and stuff like that. That everybody they slowly wanted to start looking like heroin addicts, and the girls that didn't fall for that are the ones that stood out. We went from supermodels like in George Michael's Faith to things like L7 and Hole. But
I just wanted every girl to look like Tawny Katane in a Whitesnake video. I know that's sexist, but it's
okay. So to show you that I had a taste for crazy, right, and I still kind of do. My wife's wonderful, but there's a little bit there and stuff like that. Alyssa Milano. I wanted every girl to look like Alyssa Milano. Every dark hair, Linda Carter. Every dark haired girl that ended up having like a little turn there. Yeah.
You have found 2 women that have, one's batshit crazy and one's not far behind.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. I pick them, man. Yeah, my bad. My bad. I read the movies of the '80s. Wait a minute. My bad. I read the movies of the '80s. So we're living in Skynet now. It's coming. Paolo, Brett Spencer. I noticed he was a gyrocopter guy when he appeared on the TV series Legend of the Seeker. Apparently, he was able to do Moby Dick miniseries starring Patrick Stewart, but I don't remember him there. Yeah, I love that gyro guy. He's like, I like these little character actors, and usually somebody like Rob Zombie will pull character actors and stuff. If you saw like, oh God, why am I going blank on my favorite Rob Zombie movie? Daggone it. Anyway, I'm stuck in 1982. That's what's wrong. So you want to get this one out of the way, the one I know you don't like, since we just talked dystopian.
Sure.
Okay. So first of all, I'm going to go ahead and show. I'm not going to go into the wall yet. I got that at pick, but this is a laser disc of what could possibly be my favorite movie, just by the fact of how much I watch it and stuff. But the laser disc, I accidentally kept the VHS in the collection that I sold. That's one of the ones I forgot to pull out. That's all right. But I actually saw this in a theater, despite the fact that I don't think it was 1982. Just because of where I was living. It was somehow in 83. And when I saw the first cut, it had like the Parker's here. I think Parker is the guy that I've talked about this movie a lot over the years. But when I saw it, it had like a film noir feel because it was like Sam Spade talking over his movies. And Harrison Ford hated doing that. So they've come out with like 3 or 4 cuts of this where they took all that out. They've tied it into Alien and Legend, all the Ridley Scott movies tying together. And he was sort of like laughing and nobody figured it out because of the androids and stuff. My coffee's wearing out, man. We've done a lot of talking. So I love every cut of this. And Parker Rizzo blew my mind when he said this is cyberpunk, because I always saw it as like sci-fi film noir. You know what I mean? But yeah, I saw this in the theater and absolutely still loved it. And I'll tell you what, if I have not watched this movie at least 100 times over the years, then I've watched it 200. This is one I put in to help fall asleep. So
Oh,
that kind of thing.
that would work for me.
Yeah, yeah. So you've already prepared me to let me know that. Go ahead, man. Go ahead. I was all over Tootsie shitting on it. So
Oh no, I I said I watched it. God, it had probably been out for 40 or 30 years before I saw it. It was one. I don't know how I missed it originally. Because at the time it came out, I didn't have that. Yeah, I hadn't been dystopia to death yet. So I mean, I just didn't see it,
yeah,
and it's just grown into such a monster over the years. And I said, I've got to see why does everybody just rave about this movie? And I watched it. It had actors I liked. It had plot that I don't really remember, but I thought it just I don't know why it didn't click for me as
yeah.
much as it did for other people, because I mean I am way in the minority of people that don't love this movie, and there's certain things like I said in the circles in which we travel. Like I said, the fact that I'm not a big Blade Runner fan, or that I've never seen an episode of Game of Thrones, or I've seen maybe 5 X-Files. I haven't seen any Lord of the Rings. There's a lot of things that where I should probably have to turn in my nerd card, but it just I don't know. I don't know why it just never
Yeah.
resonated with me the way it did for so many other people in our circles. I don't have an answer for that,
Well,
honestly.
that's cool. See, I can't be objective. I mean, in my mind, I grew up with it.
Yeah.
It's one of the things where I feel very lucky because I was on the ground floor. I mean, I knew who Philip K. Dick was, even though I hadn't read him his thing because the stepdad and his friends read pulps. Pulps were all over the place in the books, and I remember seeing the name Philip K. Dick on this bookshelf that we had. We had a bookshelf probably like this big that stayed in a room by itself when we would move around. And I remember seeing the biography of Jim Morrison, Conan, Michael Moorcock, Piers Anthony, and Philip K. Dick. They were
Yeah.
in the house using the anthologies and stuff, right? But Blade Runner, I feel when it started getting popular, I actually was just sort of like had this. I was very young. I was in my early 20s when I started hearing people talking about it again because of all the cuts that were coming out. Maybe my mid 20s, and I was just sort of like these Johnny come latelys. How I had this feeling like, how dare you? You know what I mean? Because like I found out it had flopped, and now all these people are. And I'm sitting here like I was there, at the beginning. This was my Vietnam, man.
But did Blade Runner not do well in the theaters when it came out?
No, it flopped. See, I didn't know these things flopped. I didn't
I
care.
guess
I
I didn't
either
know that
liked it.
either.
That's what I'm saying about these movies. I legitimately liked them. I wasn't influenced. I didn't. There's movies I don't like because I can figure out the movie from the trailer. When I saw the M. Night Shyamalan trailer for The Village, I figured out the whole movie from the trailer. Back when you're 9 years old and you're seeing this stuff and it's new and everything like that, either you liked it or you didn't. I mean, we would be brutal. Back then, you would either not go see it or you would just tell your friends, it's not any good. Don't go see it. But you wouldn't we didn't have YouTube. You wouldn't make whole videos for a year saying the same thing, hating on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now did they do it? Did he come back and do a sequel a few years ago?
Yeah.
This-
2049.
Okay,
I don't
so
really recommend it. It's not a have to see kind of thing. And the biggest thing is let me slow down a little bit. Part of the mystique kind of grew with it. I loved it because like I love noir. I've always loved voiceovers and Sam Spade detective stuff. I loved mysteries and stuff, and it kind of had that feel. So the Blade Runner is a hunter for replicants. Replicants are androids that do dangerous work, and sometimes they go off and do things they weren't, but they're super dangerous. They have
right.
super strength and all this stuff, right? The big plot hole of the movie is when these three replicants land on Earth. I think they only have a few days to live to begin with. These things have an expiration date, and I'm always, even as a kid, I caught that, and I'm like, well, just let them die. You know what I mean? They're going to
Yeah.
die in a few days, big deal. But their whole thing is it's existential. They're trying to get more life, so they go meet their maker, their creator. You follow me?
Mm-hmm.
And then the best part about this is Rutger Hauer, the speech that made it famous he made up on the spot. He made up on his own. It wasn't in the script. I have the comic book adaptation, and the speech is in there, but it doesn't have the tears and rain talk that he's doing.
Hmm.
You know, Rutger Hauer wrote that himself. But the big mystery is that the movie, The Thing that we already talked about in this movie, you have to watch the lighting because people started wondering, is Harrison Ford a replicant or not? Is he human or is he not? And you had to watch the lighting. And in The Thing, it was who is the alien? Because of the shape shifting. You're supposed in both movies, you're supposed to watch the lighting because if their eyes flicker in a certain way, that's how you know they're either not human or are human.
Oh,
The rules are different for each movies, but it's the eyes and the lighting. So the problem with that Blade Runner sequel is that it supposedly answers that question. And Harrison Ford had an idea of if he was a replicant or not, and Ridley Scott had an idea if he was one or not. So that kind of kept the mystique up because neither one would budge. They both thought different things. Let's put it that way. And that's part of the mystique of it is he a replicant or not? You can watch it and try to figure it out. And it's real subtle, you know. So there's 4 cuts of them. I love every one of them, you know. So the movie Legend, you remember Legend with Tom Cruise and
yeah.
the unicorns? The way this supposedly ties in is that there's one character who ended up being the chief of police on Miami Vice. He's into origami. And every time there's one point where he pops up and he leaves a unicorn origami figure. Well, there's a little scene in the final cut where for like 3 seconds we see a unicorn it's from Legend. The unicorn pops up in his dream. Replicants are given false memories. So they're thinking that part of a false memory that he's dreaming about is the movie Legend. Legend may be the dream of a replicant. That's how it ties in. Because this is the same world as Alien, you know. Yeah.
I think I might have to give that another watch.
Well, yeah, I would do a little reading on there to see how all these movies tie together and you get more out of it. That's why I'm so glad that I was on the ground floor when it was just Blade Runner. You know what I mean? To see it grow over the years and people get into the mythology and tie things together, and then Ridley Scott finally just spelling it out for people.
Listen, yeah, I'm a huge noir fan myself. I mean, like I said, it has a lot of elements of things I do like.
There's a character that pops up in this that popped up in Prometheus. If you're into the Alien movies,
okay,
yeah. There's a tie into Blade Runner and Prometheus, big time.
So I have a question: if anybody's watching this on their phone, are you getting commercials, which I didn't think was supposed to happen on live streams?
No, you can get commercials because of YouTube. My stuff is set to do monetize since 2014 or 15. I've never gone in and messed with them. Is it messing up?
No, I happen to notice a couple times I've looked down and there's been a commercial playing, which I
have no control of it. I've went in.
It's not just here. I mean, but I didn't think. I know if you watch videos, you're going to get commercials. I don't recall ever until recently that happening on live streams.
Let me take a segue here and just kind of take 30 seconds. I won't hinder on it. I've gone into the YouTube settings and you have a thing where you can either turn it off or let YouTube do it, or mid scroll. You get to pick how the things do. It won't let me change it. I can hit YouTube, let them do it, and then I can save. I can't change it. And I think it has the fact that me, 123 Comic Man, a bunch of us when they first started doing the advertising back in the day, a bunch of us you hit a button and everything, YouTube took care of everything. It was advertised. That's like 2014 or something, right? I never messed with it. I've turned it off. I was able to turn it off on a few before and stuff like that. YouTube has complete control. I can't mess with it. And I'm thinking it's because I hit that button at the very beginning. I don't know. But also on the live streams over the last 6 or 7 months, the views we get on this disappear. My videos are actually these live streams when they re-upload and people watch them. Mm-hmm. For a little while, I took screenshots of the last one. I average about 80 to 85 views on these, right? Well, I don't get that counted on the final tally. It disappears after a couple hours on my app. So all my videos that are like doing 250 or live streams that are kind of leveling out around 250 or 300, I'm actually getting about 500 views per week on them.
So the problem that I see here is if you're watching a video and it goes to commercial,
Yeah,
great. When that commercial ends, the video picks up where it left off.
yeah.
If you're watching a live stream, do you just miss that stuff? I mean,
I don't know. There's
Glenser say, all right, Glenser. I said, okay, you're getting commercials, and 5.5. That's actually a pretty decent interest rate these days, and a Pilgrim's not. So, Glenser, do you just like miss what we're talking about while the commercial's running? And if so, that's bullshit.
I think what's going on is if you're using a Google browser, they have an ad blocker. And that's why a lot of people, I've had people go ahead and just leave a message saying too many ads and they leave. And there's two spots before the show. There's a thing where you have a bar that shows your video and it shows what's upcoming. And you go across there, it's got one section where you can kind of edit and it has the money symbol. And then there's a line. And then there's another thing that says monetize. There's two places to monetize it on, and one of them I can't turn off. One I can. But Google ad block is what I suggest people looking. I think it's out of my control because, like I said, I advertised. This guy named 123 Comic Man back in 2014 told us he had no problems. So while we were all talking, I just went ahead and hit one button back then, and that's it. It's done. And I think you had to have like I can't remember. You had to have like a couple videos back then with like 1,000 views or something. There was like one or two rules. First, you could only upload about 10 minutes. And then after you got so many views and so many subscribers, you got unlimited. The rules of YouTube have changed a lot since 2011. Yeah. Sorry, man. I mean, I don't know if that made any sense to you.
No, Glenn said if you're watching,
I've been doing this since 2011. I've seen many things change on here. So my account is different because it's so old. I think it's still stuck in some places. No commercials here. All right. We'll do comments here in a minute and stuff, right? So I want to take this moment since we're talking about 1982. I want to show you my favorite toy of like possibly 1979 that's come back out. Stretch Armstrong, people. Go to your local Cracker Barrel. You can get a miniature Stretch Armstrong. I'm looking for the green monster. That was the one. Okay. This is brought to you by Super Stretchy Fun. Okay. Throw another one out there. Throw another one out there, Breen.
All right. Let's see. Okay. So I don't know how much longer we're going to go. So.
Are you good on time, man?
Oh, yeah. Right? I'm good. Okay. Here's one that's probably going to surprise you.
Okay.
An officer and a gentleman.
Okay, that is on my list. You know what my favorite version of that movie is? The Mad Magazine by Mort Drucker parody. But go ahead, man. Go ahead.
No, I just I remember it's kind of a little bittersweet now considering Lou Gossett just passed, but
yeah,
this was one of those I don't know. This was a date movie. I said obviously, and I don't remember who the date was, but I do remember the movie or bits and pieces of it. And holy crap, I said, yeah, I mean, I could go the rest of my life without hearing Love Lifts Us Up, Where You Belong, or whatever the hell that. Yeah. But at the time, it was, perfect. It was perfect for the ending of this movie. And there are things when Louis Gossett was breaking Richard Gere's character, he's trying to get him to quit, and where he's just like laying on the ground, just caked in mud, and he goes, when he looks like he's crying, he's going, I got no place else to go. And that's like a turning point in the movie. And he makes something out of him. I mean, it just, and I said that, and when he's leaving as a full-fledged, officer, you see the new recruits coming in, and you hear Lou Gossett saying the same shit to the guys that, it just, I don't know. Like I said, hokey as shit, yes. But I liked it. I really like this movie.
It's a movie I don't dislike, but it's not for me. And then the pile on top, and in the soundtrack, it's the big thing played out, But I was actually in the military in the 90s, and The night before I went to basic training, they showed me Full Metal Jacket. And then at the end, when I graduated, you had the stand on TV. All right. We finally got to go into the TV room and I saw the stand. And then on the plane ride back to where I was going, I think I'm remembering this right. They played Officer and the Gentleman, and I'm sitting there like, this is bullshit. Because now I was military. And so the whole military side of it, I was like, this is bullshit, man. So, yeah, I was 21, so, yeah. So not a bad choice. Richard Gere, I dig. I like. Don't get me wrong. Movie by movie. For some reason, when you pop that up, I thought it was American Gigolo. I don't know why.
Which was also a pretty decent movie. Now, again, like I said, it was hokey, but what elevated this movie was how good the performances were from Gere and Gossett.
Yeah,
I mean, it's because like I said, I mean, I'm sure I was never in the military, so I have no frame of reference to that. And I imagine people that work, like I said, because you watched it, this is bullshit. You said it, but I said it. But then again,
it's a romance movie. It's a date movie, like
right?
You said. It's not supposed to be an accurate movie. Yeah,
right.
It's a setting,
but the performances were good enough to where it was worth the time to watch.
Yeah, it's kind of like a big budget play. You know what I mean? It's I don't want to say Romeo and Juliet, but yeah, it's not a movie you watch expecting a military movie, even though it's called An Officer and a Gentleman. It's not.
Well,
it's not Heartbreak Ridge.
Okay, here's the thing. Bull Durham is not a baseball movie.
Exactly,
it's a movie with baseball in it. Doesn't detract from the fact that it's for what it is. It's a very good. Now, Bull Durham is superior to An Officer and a Gentleman, but I digress. But so it's like, yeah, I that's the thing that it's part of the movie. It's not the movie, and it's not the main focus, but you need it for the movie to make sense.
Yeah. Like I said, my mind had to realize what you just said. It had to make me realize it's not that. You know what I mean? It's not one of my. I had to get rid of my expectation, if that makes sense. Yeah. So I have 3 movies left. Are you good on time?
Yeah. Can you give me a moment to get your Coke and hit
I'm going to look at this. I'll do comments, sir.
All right. I'll be back in a moment.
Because we have some of the best people out there getting into this. I appreciate it. We started out with like low numbers there, man. And then everybody started piling up in here. Okay, sorry about the ads. If I could do more about it, I'll start digging in there, see if I can't try to figure out a way to turn it off. If you're watching a live stream, you miss out. Sorry, guys. Yep. I've had an ad blocker for years. I use Firefox. Alternatively, Brave has an ad blocker in its code. Like I said, I know Google Plus, and I got to be careful because I talked about this one time on the stream, and they took it down. Apparently, YouTube doesn't want people to encourage people to block the ads or get rid of them. So I just now remembered that. Michael B. Jordan will play Stretch Armstrong in the movie. Hey, Meyer, mayonnaise. Nice. Oh, my goodness. And then we have Glenzer. Officer and Gentleman made a bundle in 1982. Today, it probably wouldn't be made. Like I said, I barely kind of remember the movie. I remember watching. We had Showtime, then you had TBS, right? And then every now and then there like be some midnight movie. I don't know how that worked, but I was watching Friday night Netflix, Friday night hits or something like that showed music videos. I was kind of steering away from that. And like I said, we actually would go to the theater. So Officer and a Gentleman, I've seen it. I know I've seen it, but I was just too young for it. And I do still have a Mad magazine and a collection over here of Mad Goes to the Movies or something where it makes fun of it. And I enjoyed that immensely. That was a great movie. Seems to be forgotten today after the gerbil controversy. His career seemed to disappear. Grotto. Richard Gere, yeah. The thing about Richard Gere that gets me is I grew up on John Travolta, right? I actually remember watching Welcome Back, Kotter as a kid. It seems like it might have been on the same night as Soap, if you remember that one. Somehow I don't know. I could be wrong. They're tied in somehow together in my head. But I was at a drive-in theater here in the town I'm living in now when I saw Grease at a drive-in. There's a grocery store there now, Food City or Food Line. And it was it was the traditional drive-in theater where they actually had like the swing set in a little park for kids, kind of in front of the screen. And I was actually on. I'm 5 years old, something like that, and I'm actually on a swing when John Travolta, Danny, is left at the drive-in, and he's singing the song. I'm doing the same thing at the same time at the drive-in theater as Danny, while he's singing stranded at the drive-in on the swing set. I'm on the swing set, yelling Sandy. Parker Rizzo, great feel-good movie. The Man Married Cindy Crawford, enough said. So Richard Gere has his fans. That's what you've missed. Richard Gere has his fans, and Officer and Gentleman is liked. I'm the oddball, but hey, what can I do?
Well, hey, American Gigolo, Pretty Woman.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't dislike. Man, I'm trying to think what Intersection. I liked him in Intersection, even though he wasn't. Richard Gere's been in some movies I like, but usually it ends up being like Diane Lane that I'm watching the movie for. You know what I mean?
That's fair.
I know there's a Richard Gere movie I like, and I'll probably spit it out randomly. Our paths just never crossed. You know what I'm saying? Like they just, So I'm going to go ahead and see if you can guess this movie, and hopefully I'll get it right. You know what I mean? So, okay, to see your enemies driven before you. Anything? To crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and hear the lamentation of the women. Name that movie.
Not ringing a bell.
Here we go. I'll give people a chance to guess, but that's the next movie I want to show. Primal Fear. That's a Richard Gere movie I like. Yes. Yes. So anyway, to crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentation of the women. Name that movie. I just want to play here for a minute, see if they get it. See if anybody's listening. They probably got a commercial going on right now.
Yeah.
There we go. Paolo knows what it is. That is Good in Life. And it's Conan the Barbarian. And I got stories with this one, brother. All right. Conan the Barbarian. I was on board. Conan was in the house. I got the Marvel Treasury editions. I got the Marvel in the house. The Conan was big in the house. It was all over the place. And one of the Marvel Treasury editions that the stepdad had, on the back page, it was the big wood X that in the vultures and stuff on Conan while he's been pinned, out in the desert and all that stuff. And they had it they had everything in the movie I wanted to see. Giant monsters, even with the snake. This had everything. The soundtrack, I listen to the soundtrack to this day in the background of my house if I'm doing stuff around the house. And I can't believe it was Oliver Stone, right? And just to throw this out there, Conan the Destroyer, the second one, if we had time, I would tell you what Roy Thomas told me about. You don't talk to Roy Thomas. Roy Thomas, you don't have a discussion with him. You bring up something, and Roy Thomas talks exactly like he does in his comic books. And he told me, I felt like he told me a good chunk of trying to get the sequel made the right way. And if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have had Grace Jones in this to kind of keep some of the lore the way Conan is supposed to be. And this is actually signed by Roy Thomas. I still always had a thing about signatures on comic books just being graffiti and it. So I took DVDs and some All-Star Squadron when I met Roy Thomas the first time. But anyway, Conan the Barbarian. And everybody, I don't know how many times I got corrected by people saying it's lamentation. We would, I already knew about Conan, so I felt like I was ahead of the game. And of course, it had freaking Darth Vader in it. I'm like, as I can't remember if he was actually Set or a priest of Set. Now that I'm sitting here thinking about it, but I spent the night in 1983. I spent the night with this one of my friends, and I didn't realize that his parents were either super conservative or they were outright religious. I never figured it out. So I'm spending the night. And I'm, my house, they didn't give a crap what I watched. You know what I'm saying? I had a little bit of a freedom there that I thought everybody had.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, his dad is sitting, his mom's in there making dinner and popcorn. And they're like, hey, what movie do y'all want to watch? And I see Conan's on. And I go, hey, Conan the Barbarian. There's a scene where they feed him a woman, more or less. And he takes off her bare, I don't know what, her bare cloth top there. And we have boobies. and his dad flipped the fuck out on me. Jumped up, ran across there, turned the pages. Apparently, we can watch people getting chopped in pieces, but if some boobies for about 3 seconds is just a no go. And they hated me ever since. And then, like, I was the bane of this family for years now. Like, I'm like this harmless little kid running around, getting along with everybody. They called me Timmy, but this family, thanks to Conan, I was just like everything that could have happened. I beat up their son in front of him. And it was his dad's idea. He brought out boxing gloves, and I knew how to box from watching boxing. I met this girl in 7th grade, and it turned out to be a foster girl that they brought into the house. I kissed her in the movie theater, and I look up, and there's the mom, like, she is too young for this, and jerks her out of the theater. And it goes on from there. Like, anything that would happen, they would pop up, and it all started with boobies and Conan. So, yeah. I thought I was going to talk more about the movie, but I didn't know I was going to go down memory lane,
You know what? That's quite all right.
Yeah. So, yeah, that is like a staple. I mean, to me, Howard the Duck wasn't the first Marvel movie. It was actually Conan the Barbarian, even though it was a licensed property. But they had the scene I wanted. He got pinned. I don't want to say the word crucified, but he got pinned down, and he bit the head of a freaking... And even the wizard. Tell me you've seen this movie. I'm
not a Conan fan.
Oh, God, I'm wounded. I could live with Blade Runner, but come on, man. This is...
No, I it's not that I would not see it. I said, I'm not that big of a Conan fan. I mean, as far as comics go, I was collecting them when I was a kid. So I have some of the Marvel ones, but I've never been enough of a fan to go out and buy any of the, subsequent. Although I understand it's really good right now. It's just, again, it's kind of just not something I'm all that big on.
I'm trying to look up who wrote the script. Roy Thomas and Jerry Conway, whatever, did the script for the sequel. Right, the first one I'm pretty sure was written by Oliver Stone. No, John. Yeah, some dude in Oliver Stone wrote this one. Yeah, he said no way to Conan the Barbarian. Oh, well, what you got for us, man?
I'm still chuckling at Conan the Barbarian. All right, it's a movie that if you were of a certain age.
Oh my God, I had that movie. I didn't bring it in here. Yes, that was one of my choices also. Yes. A freaking classic.
This was yes, it's a comedy, but there's so much more to it that because there are things that happen in this movie that just so real life that what people remember, the pool scene with Phoebe Cates, obviously.
Yeah, Phoebe Cates was a freaking, oh my God,
she changed lives.
Yeah.
And God bless Judge Reinhold, because I said, yeah, it's acting. Yeah, he wasn't doing anything that every red-blooded American hasn't done. But to do it, I said, working is a major part of a movie. I said, props to him. But the thing that, there's a scene that not everybody remembers is the guy that the one good kid that was trying to get with Jennifer Jason Leigh. And he's got the shady friend. Goes, I'll help you out. And he helps himself to
It's always
her.
going to be Styles to me, even though I don't even know if it's the same guy.
So it's like every nice guy has had someone that they thought was their friend, get with a woman. I've seen it happen. Yeah, it's happened to me. I've been the other guy. So there's the things that resonate. And I said, and then there's the stuff. My dad's got an awesome set of tools that, if I'm not mistaken, I think isn't it Forrest Whitaker in this?
Yeah, Forrest Whitaker was the football player that
and
his car. Yeah.
And like I said, Spicoli and Mr. Hand. I mean, it's just there's
Nick Cage, the cameo, Eric Stoltz.
A lot of life lessons in a movie, just disguised as an absurd comedy. So I mean, this worked on a lot of levels, and
out of everything in that movie, believe it or not, my favorite parts had to do with my Martian, the teacher. I can't believe I'm going blank on his name.
Roy Walston, Ray
Yes,
Walston.
Roy. Well, let's go with Roy. Okay. But what got me was the existential part in it is what grabbed me as a kid. It's the part where he goes ahead and orders the pizza for class and says, I thought about what you talked about time. And aren't we all in the same time? Your time is my time and my time is your time. And he's like, yeah. And then he physically showed him what that meant by sharing his pizza with everybody. You know what I mean? I was like, I'm pretty sure I was about 10. A year later, I saw the movie. And that's what I got out of it, man. I was like, of all things to get out of it. But my thing is Valley Girl. You remember Valley Girl, the movie?
Yeah. Deborah Foreman.
For some reason, those two movies go together in my head, and I have them together. I can't believe I didn't bring it in here. I had it out to bring it in here.
Well, that was 83, wasn't it? Valley Girl?
Yeah, because Nicolas Cage is still Nicolas Scorsese or something in that movie. And I don't think he became Nick Cage till after, but I could be wrong, But yeah, there's a bunch of cameos, a bunch of people that went through there. But I couldn't stand Spicoli. Could not stand him, and I like the teacher of all things as a 10-year-old kid. He's the original Red Foreman in my eyes. I liked old Roy. And then, like I said, the guy, I felt so bad for him when he had to put up with, Judge Reinhold had to put up with losing his girlfriend, losing his job because of asshole customers, got caught, going blind, if you will, the Harry Palmer. Just everything that was happening to him, I was like, and that just shows you, if you want to have like the best characters, you got to put them through hell. I'm like,
it's funny that so you mentioned those two movies go together for entirely different reasons. The bombshells of those two movies didn't end up having careers. Phoebe Cates, because she just wanted to be she married the dude from Monty Python, right?
Not Michael. Wait a minute. No, it's not. I get where you're coming thinking he's from Monty Python. He was in A Fish Called Wanda.
Kevin Kline.
With Palin and Cleese.
Yeah, Kevin Kline.
Oh, why can't I think of his name?
Kevin Kline.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. Well, she was in, I tell you what, to go from Fast Times at Ridgemont High to Gremlins with her.
Yeah.
I was like, they had her buttoned up to the throat. And I'm like, you bastards. But
go ahead,
I digress.
But, and then Deborah Foreman, who everybody thought was going to be a major star, just fizzled.
Which one is she in that movie?
She's the main girl in Valley Girl, if I'm not mistaken, right? She's the blonde.
Switched movies on me. Yeah, gotcha. I didn't want to say Jennifer Jason Leigh, but I didn't. I knew you were going somewhere. Yeah, Valley Girl. Yeah, I have the movie. I have a 4-pack where it has Sam Jones and her in a movie called My Chauffeur. That was her next big movie.
I remember that.
Yeah, Sam Jones was Flash Gordon. And then it has My Tutor, Tomboy, and some other movie. Even the 80s B movies are a lot better than what they're putting out now.
Yeah. Well, they gave her the star push.
Yeah.
It's just like, it reminds me, I said that, in the other direction, there's a movie that somebody found for me. Venkman found a movie called Skate Town, USA. Have you ever heard of that?
I might have it. There's a chance I have it.
I didn't know it ever made it on anything. But for those of you who don't know, real quick, before we get back to 1982, it was there was this kid that was supposed to be getting this big push. The leading lady ended up being on a soap called The Bold and the Beautiful for like 30 years. So that was her career. But the male lead, he fought somebody in the movie, and the guy he fought was Patrick Swayze, who obviously went on to be a major star. The guy that they were pushing in this movie just faded away by 1985. And I find it interesting how things like that are set up and just don't happen for some while they do for others.
There you go. That's how I watch this stuff. This is how I look at it, man. You're right there and talking my language. So another one that people are popping on. Excellent choice, man. I can't believe it's not in my stack. I swear I had it out. I don't know why I need to validate this, but yeah. Look at Phoebe Cates, Nancy Wilson cameo. Cameron Crowe ended up marrying her, but I don't know if this is when they got together. I can't believe I'm going blank on that. But I didn't know. Seriously, I did not recognize. I knew Hart's music just from the radio, Barracuda, Magic Man, all that stuff from the '70s. But when they came out with These Dreams and they '80s up and they 80'd it up and all that stuff like that, I had no idea who they were. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, but Nancy Wilson cameo, a lot of people talk about that. The cameo reminded me of National Lampoon's Vacation with Christy Brinkley. Am I getting the model right?
Yeah.
You know, yeah. Made Van shoes famous. Yes.
Well, I would argue made Vans famous too when Spicoli fell out of his.
Somebody, and at the same time, we had Moon Zappa and Frank Zappa doing a song called Valley Girl. Was that '82? I think it was. Yeah. Somebody's Baby is still one of my all-time favorite movie songs. Is that Jackson Brown?
Yes.
Somebody's Baby? Yeah. See, I'm a Don Fender, Take a Ride. Don Fender's the Eagle I like. Him and the guy named Tim, who's the bass player, I think. Now I feel like a double feature of Valley Girl, My Chauffeur. Yeah, man, get lots of candy and a lot of popcorn. I got two more, and I think the last one is what people need to stick around for because I'll be interested to see this one. You mind if I pop one up?
Not at all.
All right, I've already kind of shown it a little bit here and stuff, man, but here's my double vinyl. I have the remastered CD up there that I carry around my car, even though I do have Bluetooth. I know I'm retro on a lot of things, but The Wall, holy cow, man. Wizards by Ralph Bakshi movies. Wizards. Fire and Ice came out a year after this, but before that, there was Lord of the Rings and Wizards I saw in 78-ish at a community college that my stepdad took my mom to and me, because my mom was very young when she had me, and he was probably about 17 when they got together. So all of a sudden you can rent, we got the rentals going. We had one store, it opened up in '81. You could rent a VCR, and he probably had about 30 movies to pick from. And his shop was probably at the beginning half the size of the room I'm in. I mean, you literally were in between two bigger stores, and this felt like a walk-in closet with a bunch of shelves. And Flash Gordon was there. They had a bunch of Canadian cartoons that I actually had until I got rid of them, man. But it was like The Devil and Something Mouse and Cosmic Christmas on it in a 4-pack. And we got this eventually. This is The Wall movie that the song Nobody's Home still gets me, right? I've got Electric Light. I've got Second Sight. I got Nicotine on My Fingers. Nobody's Home is the one to do this and stuff, man. But it's all about the story of Pinky and being a rock star. And then at the end of it, it goes full fascist. And it has these great animated features in between them. And a lot of this stuff really, Roger Waters really pulled from his childhood where his dad died at World War II. And then it's got like the most, at the time, gut-wrenching little segment of him living with his mother as a kid. And he kept a pet, for a few days, and it was a sick rat, and he let him use his sweater as a nest, and he found the rat dead, threw it to the side, put it on it, and that's where we get Comfortably Numb from. He got super sick. I watched this over and over, and this is heavy, man. This can be very heavy. It's got Columbia. It's got Columbia from the Rocky Horror Picture Show as a groupie in here, and we get to see more boobies. There's a theme in 1982, man. I just realized this. How many of these movies have boobies? It's not like there's not 14 billion of them in the world right now. But, so yeah, this is heavy. And I've had this on bootleg VHS. I had this on VHS. And this is just a staple, man. I mean, 1982. And like you said, a lot of people are like, wasn't that 1980? That's when the album came out. But to me, this is like, you asked, that was so weird for you to ask what was my favorite like album, so I just got through seeing a couple months ago, we went and saw a Pink Floyd tribute concert, and I think I might have a video on my Instagram a couple months ago. And man, when they got to The Wall and stuff, that place went nuts. They did such a good show. Of this tribute concert and stuff, man. And there are still people out there that still remember this stuff. And it gets intense and stuff, right?
You kind of got to wonder. So, your all time favorite album,
Just album, not group. I
right?
think as an album.
But you probably don't have that if Sid Barrett stayed sane.
Now, see, I don't know. You're probably right. You know what I mean? Like, this is one of those things where I can't just make a decision now. I do need the discussion, and I love that. That's a good thing. You know what I mean? But there's a part about Sid Barrett where, if you guys know or anything about Pink Floyd, and I'm doing this off the top of my head, Sid Barrett was the guy in Pink Floyd in the 60s, a little bit of the 70s. He went nuts, left, they moved on. Some people stepped up. Dave Gilmore, Roger Waters, and things like that. Then Sid Barrett popped back up, and he gave up on the rock and roll life. He shaved his head. He got fat. He was domesticated. And they were sort of like more disappointed in that than the fact that he had a breakdown. So I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, that changed the band, in my opinion, when they saw how Sid turned out versus when he left the band because of mental issues.
Well, he left. He was on Piper at the Gates of Dawn.
Okay.
He was on like 3 songs of Saucer Full of Secrets and left. So he didn't even make it to the 70s.
Okay.
Yeah. And so now
top of my head, man.
I think creative differences probably would have led to his ouster at some point.
Okay.
So you probably would still get Dark Side of the Moon and The Wall and everything in between. And I said myself personally, I liked Piper is my favorite Pink Floyd because I just kind of like that whatever that sound would have been. And he made a couple of solo records after he left Pink Floyd.
Right. Sid, right?
Yeah. One
of them.
Might be
where I'm thinking, yeah, I got you now.
One of them actually spawned 2 band names because there's a song called Baby Lemonade and 59 Times the Pain. Both end up becoming, he at least influenced people naming their band. And then he, in the early 90s, Capitol offered him $1 million basically to record anything, but he was so far gone he couldn't even do that.
Yeah.
But so I said, because I'm fast, I said, if Joe Manili doesn't walk out in front of a train, what would Marvel have looked like? Would there be an MCU? Would that kind of stuff? I like those what ifs. I probably would think that I said Sid they would have kicked him out eventually because his vision was a lot different than theirs, I would guess.
Yeah, and I'm deferring to you because I don't know if it's where you were there or grew up around it more than I did. Pink Floyd was around, but I didn't get into the progressive music. I tried listening to Alan Parsons Project because their second album's based on Isaac Asimov novels, and I think their first 2 albums sound like Pink Floyd. You know what I mean? So I've had Pink Floyd diluted over the years, and then I had seriously from The Wall up until Learning to Fly and going through that. That's the Pink Floyd I was on. I learned everything else backwards, and you don't get. The people that were into it know the albums. The people I was around that listened to Pink Floyd, they put the album on. They didn't read. They didn't read the titles. To them, it's a whole album. That makes sense. So that's one of the places where, unless I go to Wikipedia or something or do research some other way, their history of it's just what I picked up here and there with light reading and actual magazines. You know what I mean? So I want to juice you up and help you get all talk more about this and stuff like that, but I'm not educated enough on them. But I get where you're coming from, and I'm just going to say you're probably right. It's a big thing to take on. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because the Sid Barrett situation kind of reminded me of there's a band in this I believe it was the late 60s or early 70s, Big Star.
I'm sorry, man.
That's right, Jay. Now it's Team Professor.
He is Professor Breen. Yeah.
Are you familiar with a band called Big Star?
Yeah.
Okay. It goes Alex Chilton and Chris Bell.
Alex Chilton. Go ahead. Yeah.
And
Alex Chilton. What was his band in the 60s?
Box Tops.
Yes. Thank you.
but the first Big Star album is, Chris Bell's all over it.
Yep.
He left, I think, three songs into, I can't remember if it was number one record there. Well, anyway, then he went on. He made his one solo record, I think called "I Am the Cosmos," and then died in a car crash. But I said, but there's very different visions between the two of them, and I guess Alex Chilton won the power play or whatever. But because that kind of reminds me of the Syd Barrett thing with only there's one went crazy, one died young and tragically in a car accident. So we never got to see what would have happened. Like, would they have done it? Would they have collaborated again down the road? If Sid doesn't go insane, would he have at some point been lured back? And so I mean, I just find those things kind of interesting. But anyway, I once again derailed the streams. But,
no, you're cool, man. No, because now I'm sitting here thinking about. I'm trying to remember Roger Waters. Roger Waters had a solo out. You're bringing it all back. You know what I mean? This is what happens. You'll talk. People will talk. It reminds me, makes me remember things. I'm trying to think what the Roger Waters solo album was that I loved, but it seems like it was radio themed.
Radio KAOS or something. Radio Chaos, I think it was, but spelled out.
I absolutely love that, and I played it for some of my. And this was during hair metal. You know what I mean? I have a year or two where I'm ashamed of hair metal because I've really got into it, the glam stuff, and that's not bad. It's just I missed out on a few years of really good stuff. Felt like I lost some credibility. But when that came out, I played it for some of my friends on cassette, and they were just like, what the hell is this? And I was like, okay. Might have been one of the few times that I kind of was like, okay. I got to answer
better
this.
Friends.
Now, Parker, never would have guessed Floyd as the Zeppelin in the Ramones would have been my guess, right? You are correct when it comes to like actual like bands. The first four Ramones I got to admit, I think Ramones, these two are probably my favorite bands. I go back and forth so much. Ramones, I met Tommy Ramone back in the day. I got pictures with him. But the Ramones, the question that he was talking about was like the perfect album, that like an album that I can listen from beginning to end. This thing is The Wall is autobiographical. It tells a story. Songs tie into each other. It's got Mother on it. That song Mother is just perfect. Comfortably Numb. But like when I pay money to go see The Wall and stuff like that, it'd have to be really cheap. I don't really have that burning edge to go see them. But the Ramones and Led Zeppelin, you're dead on. I get where you're coming from. Breen, just to say this out, I'm in the middle of it. I can pull up my phone and show you about once a year. I go through every Led Zeppelin album from beginning to end while I'm driving. Once a year, I listen to their whole catalog, and then that'll lead me to Big Tall. Oh my God, I'm going blank. I'm strong. I'm the Big Tall one. Shit.
Robert Plant, Now and Zen.
Yeah, Now and Zen. Yeah, I
end up going through the one, and I'm Built to Please.
Yeah, I've got it in there. I could go in there and get him, but I end up going through when he was. Oh my God, we've been on here a long time, haven't we? But you remember when he did the? I don't want to say the Wonders. He was like, "Do you remember
the Honey Drippers?"
Yeah, the Honey Drippers. I'll go from Zeppelin, and then I'll end up on the Honey Drippers. Jimmy Plant's, a lot of Jimmy Plant's other works like The Fix and stuff. It doesn't really grab me, but I'm radioactive. I can get into some of it. But yeah, Robert Plant, the Honey Drippers, Now and Zen. I'll end up going through them all, man.
I love Now and Zen. I don't have a whole lot of, not a big fan of the rest of the Plant solo stuff, but Now and Zen, I just, right place, right time.
You need to listen to Crazy on a Ship of Fools.
I know that's other.
Oh God, that's my, that could be a funeral song. I don't know, man. It's awesome. Okay. Well, you derailed this. I just sat there and got all goofy singing for people, if you call it singing. So are you ready for what I think may be like one of the most popular characters in the 80s? And they're still making movies. He still comes back to this. Do you have another movie you want to show?
Oh, I do, but a couple of honorable mentions before you did that I
absolutely
couldn't. Because we didn't talk about Rocky 3. We probably should have.
Okay.
But there's
Well, if it makes you feel better, I have a few starred in Rocky 3. I think it's right there on the top. There it goes. Rocky
It,
3.
we didn't talk about First Blood, so we kind of it feels like we're not
Oh, no,
sliding.
no. We were going to talk about First Blood.
Okay, excellent. But something I'm guessing probably is not on that list. Author.
It's on my list. You like that, huh?
Yeah, I did. I mean, I haven't seen it in decades, but I do remember like that because it was because I remember he was kind of a I know he was trying to raise kids by himself, and I mean I don't remember all that much about it, but I do remember liking the movie. But again, I went to grab that, and I don't have that either. So why I don't have it, I don't know. Why I have 3,000 movies? I gotta believe there's some shit in there. Why I don't have author in my
Yeah.
favorite year? I don't know.
Yeah. I think the only part of author that I mean, I dug Dudley Moore. I liked him in Foul Play. You know, I mean, if you remember that movie with Goldie Hawn,
No, wait,
Chevy
so
Chase.
that's Arthur. Dudley Moore is Arthur. Al Pacino is author.
Oh, but Dudley Moore was in Foul Play as a orchestra. You need to watch Foul Play and see Dudley Moore as his first
I've
American
seen
movie.
foul play. I don't remember, but I haven't seen foul play in forever
He
either.
was the conductor that had the okay. Imagine Staying Alive is playing. Okay, Goldie Hawn is looking out his window in his apartment, seeing the albino and all them looking for her. Meanwhile, he's like sitting there talking stuff like it's going to be groovy, baby. And he like pulls his bed down. He's got sex dolls and everything in there. It's hilarious. Okay, go on with your honorable mentions because I
Oh
got a
no,
couple.
that I think that was it for that. So yeah, so
What about Diner? That
well,
was the one that was.
no,
Yeah.
I was gonna get to that.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I got you. Well, it's all yours, man. What you got anything you want to show us?
Okay, so you want to close with First Blood? All right.
Oh,
So
whatever you want to do, man. We're just going. Yeah.
no, it's my record, my movie of the year for 1982 is Diner. It's actually in my all-time top 10, and if I'm not mistaken, it's the only movie in my top 10 that was made after I was born.
Nice.
Because I definitely skew older with movies, but this was just this had everything. It was just a perfect coming of age. It's like it's the bridge between adolescence and adulthood, and the how it affects all these people differently. And and they've got the one guy that's gotten married, and he realized that married life isn't the same as dating. And you know, Mickey Rourke's character, who's kind of a, a kind of a scofflaw who may or may not be. He's got a gambling problem, and maybe you know you wonder if his life's going to turn out. I mean, he's not a bad guy, but he's shady, and there's part of the movie where he almost does something unforgivable, but doesn't. He stops himself. You got um the Modell getting married, and so that's what they've all gathered for is his wedding. And most of them are still in town, but Tim Daly's character comes back for the wedding, and just little sidebars like he got spiked in a baseball game when he was younger, and every time he sees one of the players on the other team, he just walks up and sucker punches him. And there's a scene in the movie where he does that, and that makes 8 of the 9. And it's just like little things like that. The guy getting married, Modell, is that he makes his girlfriend pass a quiz on the Baltimore Colts. That if she fails, the wedding's off. I mean, it's just, it's just it's. Barry Levinson made the movie. He also went on to do Homicide, and he's had a very good career in television and movies. It's just Kevin Bacon plays a guy named Fenwick who kind of has a bit of a drinking problem, and you find out it's because his family life is shit because his family has money, but the rest of the family seems to be like shit. So it's a slice of life movie. It's coming of age, however you want to put it, but it's brilliantly done, and it's just like I said, it's one of those movies that kind of never really got noticed then. It's kind of got somewhat of a cult following now, but and everybody in it went on to have pretty decent careers.
Here's what's bad. You've described it that this is a film, not a movie. This is a film. You know what I mean?
And yeah,
And I
the
just
popcorn
saw,
scene.
I told you beforehand, it might have been like 89 or something that I watched it or something. And I just found the comment that brought it all back to me. Mickey Rourke, and you were right, there's no O. Popcorn scheme. Yeah, it all brought it back to me. The raunch.
And that's the kind of that's what it's probably best remembered for. But there's so much more to it than that. In fact, I can't believe I'm blanking on the girl's name that he did it to. Carol Heathrow.
Okay.
But there's a scene at the beginning where Fenwick and his girlfriend and the girl he's dating set up this thing where he's got a little sports car, he's got a little 2-seater, and he gets out in front of the friends on the way to the diner, and he turns the car over, and they're laying out of the car looking like they've crashed and are dead, and their friends go up to him horrified, and Fenwick just starts laughing, and he goes, I've been carrying around this ketchup for weeks. He goes, this is great. And and Mickey Rourke goes, Fenwick, you grow up. And what's her name? Ellen Barkin, is giving him shit. They start walking away. And he goes, guys, you help me turn the car over? And he goes, you got it, you got it that far? He goes, you can do it yourself. And then he goes, I'm buying at the diner. And Mickey Rourke tries to say, Fenwick, you schmuck. Another 5 minutes, you'd have had us for free. And that's basically like the intro to the movie.
It's all coming. I can't remember the movie, but as you talk, it's like I'm playing it in my head. It's all coming back. Ellen Barkin. Now, wait a minute. There's two Ellens. I might be wrong. And I thought they were both hot as a little kid. I was a pervert. I just appreciated beauty, But Ellen Barkin, is this the English Ellen Barkin, or is this the one that was in Buckaroo Banzai?
I believe she was in Buckaroo Banzai. She was also in The Big Easy. She was very much. The kids would have called her a smoke show in the 80s.
Bitchin', yeah.
She is. I said, my brother, who has really good taste in music and movies, Diner is his all-time favorite.
Well, Gore made it just in time because I believe when I announced that I was going to be, talking about movies 89 before I got a hold of you here and got you. But I think Gore and I want to say Paolo, somebody else, two people jumped on there, and Diner was the first movie that came in their mind when I said movies in 1982. So I'm so glad they caught you talking about it.
Excellent.
Because I'm listening to you talking about it, and the movie is replaying in my head. And I cannot tell you what's going to happen next. It's amazing.
Look, there's some people I said that I just can't convince because it's not an action film. I mean it's there's do you remember
Who's
the
Daniel
team?
Stern?
Daniel Stern is Shrevey.
Oh,
he's one that's married to Ellen Barkin.
Got it. The movie, not in real life.
Right. But there's a scene where this giant dude eats the left side of the menu at the diner, and they turn it basically into a sporting event, and they follow him out the door cheering him as he's leaving. It's like I said, the whole movie's just full of stuff like that.
This is so weird what you're talking about, and I just got to put out how weird this is. Right, you're talking about the movie, you keep talking about the scenes and things, and it plays in my head. And now I remember watching Diner, probably like around 83 or 84 or something. And you know what the movie was that came on after that? A Fu Manchu movie with Peter Sellers. I watched them back to back. This is weird. Go ahead. Yeah, sorry, man. Yeah.
No,
something about Fu Manchu and Peter Sellers,
The only thing that Diner hasn't influenced that I want to do, I want to try French fries and gravy.
You never had that?
No, I've never had French fries with gravy. I mean, it's
French fries with gravy. It's cool. It's good. It's very good. French fries with a Frosty from Wendy's.
That I've done.
Okay, there we go.
But they don't do that in the movie. They do. French fries and gravy is a big part of Diner. And
yeah.
I'm really glad to see.
Yeah, I've been to restaurants where it was on the side. Yeah, I'm trying to think what I got.
And
Probably
I'm
like
happy,
chicken fried steak or something. I don't know.
and I'm happy to see two people who I know are infinitely smarter than me like diner, because I said that means I might have stumbled onto one there.
Oh, when they came up, I'm like, I knew immediately I missed out because, like I said, I watched it, but I remember not blowing me away because with Diner, there was just other movies that grabbed me more than that. You know what I mean?
Well,
And they had Mickey Rourke in them. You know, Johnny Handsome, 9.5 weeks, and I killing me. I can't think of that third one. There was three Mickey Rourke movies, and then I was trying to tell you there was one about the Greenwich Village Boys where
is it
Mickey
the
Rourke's brother
Pope of
gets his
Greenwich
thumb
Village?
cut off, and he's yelling, "They cut my thumb,
Is
Charlie."
that the movie, The Pope of Greenwich Village?
That's it. That's the one that got me.
Okay.
That's the one that got me. In my memory, it was the Pope, and I saw the. Like I said, I remember now. I did see the Diner when I was younger, but around the late '80s, I saw both those movies around the same time. The Pope of Greenwich Village. That's the one I liked. I don't know why I got him in. It's got to be an actor thing or something. But yeah, they cut my thumb, Charlie. That just got me. You know, I was
Well, I
like, oh my
guess
god.
I've so much of my life is wrapped around comic books that when I said I that's probably why I'm such a big sports fan. And when I movies and books, I tend to stay away from genre.
Gotcha.
It's just kind of like mix it up, and that's probably why. Yeah, there are like my all-time favorite movies are no superhero movies on that list,
Uh huh.
with the possible exception of the '89 Batman, which you know I know it doesn't make a lot of people's best ofs.
Oh no, Michael Keaton is Batman in this house. Well, I was going to ring up my wife about something here, but in this house, that surprised me. We've only been together since 2018, married during the pandemic and stuff. And no, you do not. That's the one thing I've noticed. She knows her Marvel movies. She knows John Wick, and Michael Keaton is Batman. There is no talking about Christian Bale. You do not mention Christian Bale in this house. I've mentioned him a couple times. I've about whipped out the movies, and I just keep her straight. And my wife's wonderful. I'm not one of those beat down, scared of my wife, husband that people joke around and stuff like that. No, that's her. That's the line in the sand. Michael Keaton is Batman. You know, like yeah.
Well, that whole movie it was just so unique for its time, and that's where yesterday something popped up on YouTube where someone found a news story from like the day before the Batman movie came out on VHS, and that there were something like they expected to make 350 million off of VHS sales,
Uh-huh.
and it obviously it was a midnight sale, and of course the news reporter did it like Adam West because that's everything comic related was treated like the Batman 66 for decades.
Yeah.
And sometimes still is, but it said how big that was. I mean, it was almost as big as the movie itself.
I have my VHS of the Tim Burton Batman on the shelf in there if you want me to
Do you
get
still
it.
have yours?
I've replaced it.
Okay,
I replaced it. I did a big purge in 2005 where I got rid of a bunch of my VHS and then I recovered it. And I've sent Marky one who used to make videos and stuff. Yeah.
I
I
wish
still
I
have
still
it.
had a
And
VHS of it.
I'll tell you what, that is the way to watch it on VHS with that grainy because if you watch it in high resolution, there's certain scenes where the Joker actually falls off the bell tower. It looks horrible in high def. You know, the flaws really stick out. You know, but yeah, I've kept mine. Oh man, this diner thing. This is amazing. Yeah, I love that. There's like you said, there's people that they went straight to diner, which blew my mind. So I have a few honorable mentions, if you don't mind here.
Not at all.
Things that I either need to replace. I had Diner at the top of the list, 48 Hours, a movie called Missing. Well, I'm not going to get into it, but it's based off a real story from 1983. An American reporter went missing in a Middle Eastern country or something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to mention Gandhi because it's critically acclaimed, and I'm like nothing against the real Gandhi, of course, but that movie, give me a break. Then we have the raunch stuff that was actually one was mentioned, Porky's and Zapped. Okay.
Zap was 82.
Yes. Scott Baio. Yeah.
That's when we first
Willie,
got the
what's his buddy? Willie Hames?
Willie Ames. That's the first
Ames.
time. That's
Ames.
if there's no Zap, there's no Charles in charge of our days and our nights. Just saying.
Oh, I'm not doing this. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, you got me there. You tugged at the heartstrings, brother, singing that. There we go. We've already talked about Annie, Tootsie, Officer and Gentleman, the best little whorehouse in Texas. I'm not going to lie. Not going to lie. When I saw what it was when I was older, I mean, and Dolly Parton's in it, it's not what I was expecting, and so I was a little let down. But great musical. Oh God, Death Wish 3. I don't know how Charles Bronson you are. And then there's one that I can't believe this was 82. I still watch it every now and then. It's not everybody's cup of tea. It's a movie where they took old clips of crime noir movies from the 40s and made a whole new movie with it, with Steve Martin talking to people like Humphrey Bogart and stuff.
Yeah.
Dead men don't wear plaid. Not for everybody. Grease 2. Just because of Michelle Pfeiffer. I absolutely hate that movie. Firefox, Clint Eastwood. We got for Firefox, we got 2 TV shows. One was Blue Thunder. I'm going blank. The other one might have been Firefox because of high-tech helicopters and military. Around here, there was a movie with Kenny Rogers that was real big because of the NASCAR thing. Paolo, you might not know this one. Six Pack. There's a whole movie called Six Pack where Kenny Rogers, I think it's Kenny Rogers. I tried watching.
Yeah, it was. I forgot about that, but yeah.
That was big around here. This and
son of a bitch.
Movie called Karate Kids. What?
I'm just gonna you just mentioned I'm gonna kick myself for the rest of the day. We're gonna this is gonna go a little longer, kids, because
Six Pack ruled. I know what he's saying.
The one of the 2 or 3 best movies of 1982 slipped my mind until now. You just mentioned the title, and either before or after First Blood, we are going to talk about it.
Oh yeah. We anytime. Yeah, I'll just get through the list. This will go quick. Okay. Night Shift. Henry Winkler, Michael Keaton. It was because of Night Shift, Johnny Dangerously, Mr. Mom, that I was one of the people that was like, what the hell are they doing with Batman, making him Batman? I was one of the naysayers. I own it proudly because I was proven wrong. And I admit, you know what I mean? That's why I'm real careful with what I say about casting till I see what's going on. I don't know if people are into this, but the pirate movie. Okay. I don't know if you've seen this, but I am a modern general. That song, if you know it. Friday the 13th, part 3, we talked about. Rocky 3, we mentioned. Richard Pryor, Live on the Sunset Strip. Thanks to cable, I got to see George Carlin, Richard Pryor, Robin Williams, and a bunch of other fantastic comedians when I was a kid that actually made you think. There is nothing like Robin Williams doing that one scene where he's talking about life with a pretend kid with the high-pitched voice. Stuff like that. Beastmaster, king of the cable movies, B movies.
I remember that.
I don't know if people were into Traumaville movies and stuff. Traumaville movies, Class of '84. I barely remember that one, but I had it on VHS. The one that I have to find, I cannot believe I let it go. National Lampoon's Class Reunion. Okay. John Hughes' first movie. It's a raunchy movie. It's formulaic, but it's like perfect humor. There's a class reunion in the high school that's shut down. So it looks like a haunted house. And there's a killer. If you saw Sleepaway Camp and some of these other horror movies, you get what they were going after there. They Call Me Bruce. The first one was 1982. Can you believe that?
I know that.
You remember that one?
Remember the name, yeah.
Last Unicorn. You know that cartoon? Jeff Bridges. Okay. And Airplane 2. And for some reason, there was a movie called Forbidden World that came out. I thought it was a Corman movie, and I was thinking Galaxy of Terror, so I marked it off. Sorry. Anyway, that's it. That's some honorable mentions. I don't know if that'll ring a bell.
Galaxy of Terror, I think, was 82, wasn't it?
I didn't look it up because I got
And
my movies mixed up.
well,
You
because
know,
Joni from Happy Days was in it,
yeah,
and the other girl in the movie, what they were doing is they this entity was killing you in the way your greatest fear, and the other girl, I guess her greatest fear was to be licked to death by a monster.
a worm.
Yeah, because that's what happened to her. And not gonna lie, that was a pretty hot scene. But
Well,
I
what got me is as a kid, I didn't get the phallic imagery, if you will, of the
yeah,
monster. I was like,
um,
"What's the big deal? It's a horror movie," you know.
but that because I forgot about that. I forgot about that, and I forgotten that Airplane 2. I guess in my head that was 83, but that was 82.
Yeah.
And I mean, it wasn't as good as the first one, but it had its moments. I mean, the William Shatner scene, no tower, just a bridge, sir. Well, why would I tell that? Just go up to the doors. Shh. Yeah, that it just. So I said it was, it wasn't the first one, but it still was well worth the watch. But yeah, I said, um, we
It's
do.
around that era where for it seems like for 3 years, Staying Alive was in every movie ever made. In the first Airplane, they had Staying Alive, Foul Play, Staying Alive, some other movies. Okay, Gorville, I like Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid. Saw it on HBO. Firefox saw it in the theater. Grease 2 was painful to watch, except for Michelle Pfeiffer. 1982 was the year Jason donned the hockey mask in 3D, no less. I showed that earlier. I even did the 3D thing. A young Diane Lane had such a big crush on her in that movie. I wonder which movie I mentioned that had Diane Lane. I about watched Streets of Fire last night. When I was pulling these DVDs yesterday, I found my Streets of Fire with her in it. That's the hottest Diane Lane, in my opinion. A lot of Amazon people. We have a pirate movie. Yeah, I thought pirate movie was older than what it was. I actually thought that was an 80 or 81 movie. It blows my mind. First Blood, we're about to get to that one. The first Blood is a film. Yeah. The Toy, oh God, I hated that when it came out, and I think it was written by somebody I really liked their other movies. Maybe I need to rewatch it a little bit. I thought that was a creepy movie. Did you see Diane Lane, A Little Romance? It was her first film. I saw my first. I don't think I've seen that one. Yeah, I did see that one. She was a teenager, but ladies and gentlemen, oh, she's in a punk movie. Ladies and gentlemen, the Smears. I can't think of it. There's a movie where she's a punk rocker. The Stains. Ladies and gentlemen, the Fabulous Stains.
Okay,
That's my first Diane Lane movie. Paolo, never heard of Six Pack. I don't think it was on TV here. Days of Thunder was our introduction to NASCAR. I can see that. William Shatner was in 2 movies in '82. Everyone knows Kahn, but the other, did you not name it?
We did.
Airplane 2. Diner and Happy Days made the show. Okay, I can see that. The Outsiders, not '82, but
That was 83,
see what
wasn't
if we do an '83? I think it was '83.
it? I think so.
We do an '83 and we get to The Outsiders. I have said stay gold pony boy for 41 years, so I'm ready to talk about The Outsiders. Diane Lane was in it as Cherry also. How'd you get in here? My cat has opened the door. It has figured out doorknobs. Airplane 2, shush the door and it will open and close. Shush. Rumblefish. I have Rumblefish, the Greek tragedy of S.E. Hinton. This discussion shows how far movies have fallen. Can the discussion happen in the future, like movies with 2023?
So
That'll be a 10-minute movie.
Tim, did your cat
Yeah.
does your cat not know that all he has to do is go up to the door and go shh?
I think it just did it.
Well, you said
Yeah.
he
I mean, he
used the handle. I mean, just tell the cat all you do is go shh.
come here, Flister. Oh, sorry, guys. I got a chin to a. Oh, there we go. I don't know if you hear him purring. He actually wants to be held like a baby at times. My wife did this. Okay, so see if we can do this. 3 movies. The other was Visiting Hours, a slasher. I don't know. I don't remember that one. All right. So, do you have any more movies, sir?
Well, I said I can't believe I didn't think of this because I've droned on about this incessantly over these. Night Shift. That's in my top 3 or 4 for the year. Because when I was looking up to see movies to grab because nothing sticks in my head anymore. I guess that must not have done shit at the box office, or I just blipped over it.
Every
But
time it's on some cable channel, I'm sure I watched it. I mean, number one, it was the Fonz. Okay. This was actually one of the few movies I thought Michael Keaton was annoying because I feel like you could tell he was acting. I didn't know the word indicating when I was a kid, but I had a huge problem with that. And then it had, I'm going blank, it had Diane from Cheers. I
uh,
just,
Shelley Long.
thank you. Yeah, Shelley Long is freaking hot in that movie,
Well,
which blew my mind.
with Michael Keaton, really the only thing he'd been in prior to that was he was in a series with Jim Belushi called Working Stiffs that got canceled after like 5 episodes.
Heard about it, never saw it.
But I mean, Night Shift. I said I'm sure if anybody isn't familiar with it, Henry Winkler is in a complete departure from his Happy Days character.
Yeah.
Was this mousy little man just trying to get through life? He had a dead end job and a fat fiance that would let him have her once a month, and she didn't even want to be there the one time. I mean, she's like literally like reading the paper while he's doing her. And then his life gets turned upside down when he meets Johnny Blaisdell, played by Michael Keaton, who comes to work at the morgue where he works. Yep. And everything I said, and they end up opening up an escort service. From that they run out of the funeral home. Useless information. One of the corpses is Kevin Costner, who was also the body at the funeral in The Big Chill. So, two of his early roles are probably pretty easy work for Kevin Costner. But there's a thing that when we do the geeky puppet readings, the sound effects are spelled out in a lot of the like fight scenes.
Right.
Whenever one of them has 4Ks, I become the deli delivery guy looking for Henry Winkler's apartment. Where the fuck is 4K? So, and that's it, because that's the scene where Henry Winkler, where he does the turn, and he, the German Shepherd that's always chasing him through the apartment building comes at him, and he turns around and goes, "Stop!" And the German Shepherd goes, curls like this, "Go home!" And he points to the delivery guy, goes, "And you clean off my door." And now he's full of confidence, and he goes and gets thinks he's going to go get Shelley Long. But it's a wonderful movie.
Yeah. Oh man. And they're pretty much pimps. They're pimping it. They become pimps for Shelley Long. Girls, right?
Yes. When he's talking about being in Vegas, and he goes, so they barred me for being too good a player. He goes, "Did you win?" He goes, "Oh no, I lost." But he goes, "But they can tell how." It's just, everything is because Michael Keaton is a cartoon character in this movie, 95% of it. But I said there was just enough I don't know. You could tell that he wasn't a completely worthless person,
right?
Yeah, and I said it's one of those fun movies. I don't, I hate using this phrase. It's so overused. Unfortunately, it's accurate. I don't think you can make it today because today's kids don't have a sense of humor.
All right. See, I'm trying to think of some quotes from the movie. I love the movie, and for some reason, my mind is going to Splash. I'm just going to throw it out there to get it out of my head so I can move on. But I don't know if you saw Splash, but there's a part where they find out the girl's a mermaid.
Yeah.
John Candy comes out and he's protected from the press. And all of a sudden he goes, wait, is anybody here from Penthouse? And they go, no. John Candy goes, then I ain't talking. And they runs it in there. That's kind of like, but Night Shift was fantastic, man. I mean, I went from Caveman with Shelley Long to Night Shift with Shelley Long. I could not believe it. Night and day.
And that was right at the beginning of Cheers also, same year.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm glad we hit on one that you absolutely love because you did a fantastic job talking about that, man. Oh, what we got here? Cat People. And I don't know if I've seen Cat People or not. There's Cat People. Yeah.
That's right, the remake, because that was a Val Lewton movie, I believe,
Yep.
that was Simone. Is it Simone Signoret or whatever? Made in the 40s.
I've got it on a compilation of like B movies from the 40s and stuff. I've got
Yeah,
it in one of those packs you get at
I thought it was
Walmart.
better than a B movie, but
I don't know. I mean, I'm just telling you.
yeah, but no, but it probably is considered that. But I thought it was.
I usually get stuck on older movies. I get stuck on Vincent Price. Like Last Man on Earth is like one of my top 3 movies of all time. So Night Shift put Keaton on the map. We have I Love Disney and
Hey,
comics
Steve.
here. What happened here? Oh, it's moving. Hold on. Okay, I'm coming. I'm coming. I'm getting neat. This cat is killing me. It's going to be great to talk about Rambo while I have a cat that's being treated like a baby. You want back down? All right. Shelley Long, what we had? Shelley Long went from Night Shift and Losing
Losing
It.
it. Yeah, I
What's
forgot
Losing
about
It?
that. Yeah.
I feel like I've seen Losing. I don't know. Was Shelley Long in Time Bandits? No, I don't think so. But Time Bandits, one of my favorite freaking movies. I identified as that kid when it came out. Was what was wild. I mean, that I was like, oh man, K-Man was hilarious at the time. I also sneaked in the seat in the theater. Nice. I've done the movie switching once or twice, but I was much older because we only had 2 theaters in my town. One theater, 2 different screens. Now coming down, Gore's all over this. The original was excellent. So Cat People was a remake. I'll have to look it up. I'm getting Skinwalkers in my head. There's a movie called Skinwalkers where they're cat people, bear cats or
Yeah,
something.
the movie is very good. I can't remember if it was Simone Signoret or whatever, and how you pronounce that. That was the star, or someone whose name sounded like that.
All right. So we don't have to end on this, but I think it's time. But the reason I'm bringing this one up is that this character still grabs people. Now, I talked about my wife a minute ago, big John Wick fan. Michael Keaton, she can get into some older movies, but I have to be careful because, like, I tried to put on Dreamscape one night, and she stops in the middle of the room and turns to me and goes, "How old is this movie?" Okay. So what was funny is that she had never seen a Rambo movie, and so everybody knows Ms. Rambo. My wife, we get halfway through the first one, and she did exactly what people have heard people do back when this first came out. Is John just wanted to eat, but the biggest difference is that she doesn't call him Rambo. She calls him John, like they're friends. And I'm like, it still has it. So we ended up doing the marathon of all the Rambo movies. Rambo First Blood to me is a film. The other ones turned into action movies, into something completely different. Um, we got this Vietnam vet. I think what was he in Seattle, Washington State, or something? Maybe Oregon. He's somewhere up there in God's
Yeah,
country, and he's a nomad. He's a wanderer. He's just walking around, and he stops in this town and just wants to eat. But at this day and age, wanderers coming into town were trouble. So the sheriff comes in and tells him he needs to leave, and he's like, "I just want to eat," and he turns right around and he's walking back in there, back to the town because he's going to eat. The sheriff gave him a ride out of town. That's what happened. So then from there, they throw him in there into jail. They wash him down with a wounds, and little did they know that this is a special forces, built, paid for, trained free bird. No, Vietnam vet. No. So this movie here is a freaking just. I mean, this is a classic. I mean, the other movies that came out turns into like patriotism and Iran, and he gets bigger and badder, and how big can the explosions get? That's not First Blood. Okay, this was called First Blood when it came out, and I heard my friends talking about this before I saw it, and I wasn't into war movies. Little did I know what I was missing out on. Thoughts?
yeah. I saw it when it first came out. I don't think I've seen it since. I need to see it again, but I do agree. I said like a lot of movie franchises. The first one, it just it's almost like they become, can you top this? And yeah, I think he was either supposed to kill himself or I don't think he was supposed to survive. But they
That's what
realized,
Gore said. I was
yeah,
saving Gore's comment until you were done, but yeah.
yeah, but I can't remember if he was supposed to, die at someone else's hands
Yeah.
or his own. But yeah,
Right.
but then it's like there's a lot of things that changed for the movies for whatever reason. Like if you're seeing Cat
Well,
on a Hot Tin Roof, Paul Newman's character Brick is gay. But if you're going to make a movie where you're married to Elizabeth Taylor, how do you make it believable that you can be married to Elizabeth Taylor and like men? So sometimes the movie dictates what you do.
what was that Marilyn woman? Now you said, did you say Elizabeth Taylor?
Yeah, Count on Hot Tin Roof. Paul Newman's married to
Yeah.
Elizabeth Taylor.
I'm trying to think of that one movie she had, something like The Long Summer, something
Oh,
summer.
Suddenly Last Summer.
Suddenly Last Summer. That's my favorite. Anyway, move on. That's my
Yeah,
favorite.
where
Go ahead.
she's supposed to be lobotomized and Katharine Hepburn and
Tennessee
that's
Williams.
Montgomery Clift, honey.
Tennessee Williams. I wonder if Tennessee Williams wrote. Anyway,
I don't
I've
think
seen
I
it
don't
in
think he
play.
did that one, but
Yeah.
I'm contractually obligated. Whenever I mention Montgomery Clift, I have to do it like the line in the Clash song. So
You go, man. You go. Yes.
But yeah, I said I can't add anything to what you did for for that movie, but it is unfortunate, kind of, that some of those become just almost like caricatures as they move on. But that seems to be where they make the money. So you always have the first one, so that if they do end up getting too cartoonish.
I can't believe I'm going blank. Who's the dude that made the Transformers?
Read the last comment.
Oh, here we go. Oh, that's awesome. Yes. Study Last Summer is written by the actual.
Wait a minute. You're not the actual.
I know his secret identity, kind of, sort of. So that's I'm responsible. See, this is the stuff that's kept me on YouTube. I've had the bigger videos. I had the audience back in like the 2000s. It's this stuff right here that keeps me doing this. That is awesome. All right, let me get these out of the way here. Great movie, In Town Near the Law. Here It's Me. There's the original ending of Rambo. The other Rambo films were wish fulfillment. But Michael Bay, they went from an actual film to where we had the original Michael Bay with the rest of the movies. Seriously. And there's been this thing where I don't know if they were serious or anything, but supposedly I've seen Arnold do these interviews, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I don't know if he was being serious or not, but behind the scenes they were trying to outdo each other with their big explosion movies and stuff. So I've always wondered if that was true. And that's actually what took me out of Rambo. I loved the first one, and by the time we got to the third one, I'm like, I'm out. They really brought him back really well in the last couple of years, I think.
Yeah, I think that
Hollywood's first ET.
As long as you don't hold what came later against the one you really love, because I mean that's is it the last couple of diehards were kind of silly, but it doesn't detract from how good the first one was. You could say another series that kind of fit that was Rocky.
Oh man, see, that's rough, man. Rocky is close to my heart. You know what I mean? Like
I love those movies. I love the first three and probably the first four, but the first one was gritty. It was I'm not gonna say realistic, but it was the only one that could have had a 1% chance of actually being able to have happened. And then, but after that, but they've told that realistic story, just like they told the the gritty First Blood, and then anything from there, it would be tough to not go in those hokier directions, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Well, Rocky 5 is the one that took me out where you supposedly went back to the street level and all that stuff. But by God, man, that little scene where they pull Mickey back up and he's like, I didn't hear no bell ring when he's flashing up. I'm tearing up right now thinking about it. Mickey still gets me. Those movies still get me. And be honest with you, if I'm ever down, all I got to do is put in some of those scenes on YouTube, man, and I'm ready to go out to be a fucking Spartan. You know, you know, I didn't hear no bell ring because Mickey loves you. You know. Oh man, yeah, I'm gonna get all teary eyed here about thinking about those first Rambo movies and stuff, man. Rocky movies. Rocky 3, I was down with, but it was of my era. And then by the time Rocky 4 came up, I mean, I'm a kid. That's what was kind of going on. You know, my age definitely made me real forgiving of those movies. But Rocky 1 and 2 are the classics. Rocky 3 got a little forced. It's like, what can we do different? We got to have a death. I'm still pissed about Mickey going out. You know what I mean? Like, was it the fourth one or third or fourth one he went down? I know
I can't remember, but you see the
Crusher hit Mickey or something. Oh my God, this is embarrassing.
well
I
the
grew
third
up
one
on
was Clubber Lang. That was
Clever Lane. Yeah,
yeah. Now I said what I remember about the third one
come here.
is like I said it's since it was there was the Rockies rich, successful, and kind of due for a comeuppance.
Yeah.
The charity thing with Thunder Lips, and it was
Well,
just and so I mean I said it
in the opening sequence, they had Sylvester Stallone's actual footage from the Muppet Show. That was me. You know what I mean? Like I watched that. Sunday night, 7 o'clock.
yeah. So it's I mean I didn't mind that it was going in that direction because again, like I said, the first one served its purpose, and the second was just sort of like by the third, the budgets got bigger, so everything got to be
Yeah.
bigger in this movie. Same with the action movies. More budget, more explosions, et cetera, and you can do that stuff.
More hands in the pot, telling
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
like they know better. They forget how we got here. It's kind of like these Marvel movies nowadays taking the Kirby out of their movies, which is part of what they did in the comics that made the comics go downhill. They took the Kirby out, the magic. Okay,
Yeah.
go on. Okay, now I should be able to concentrate. I don't have a cat clawing at me. All right. Who knew Sylvester Stallone would just get us all pumped up, rejuvenated? Wish for fulfillment. What is this? Hold on, come on, show. There we go. They put Rambo in a Mortal Kombat game. That's commercialization. He also had a Saturday morning cartoon at some point, or a cartoon in general, probably in syndication. I can't rewatch any of the Rocky films except for the first one, which is a great film. I'm down for the first three. The fourth one, I don't really think too much about, but I love the one where he's in his 50s and he needed to get into one last fight to kill the beast that was in the basement of his soul. I got into that one. There's a look where he remembers what Mickey was telling him about how many times you get up. See, those movies are that's what's great about those Rocky movies, man. It's about being down and keep fighting. There's a subtext to them about life. I'm the same. I gave up on Rocky after 5 and 4. He brought down communism, the wall. If I can change speech, yeah.
Yeah, it's again, it's I guess it depends on what you look for. If you are more cerebral, I can see where that's like the Rocky series would, like Gore said, he could rewatch the first one. If I were going to rewatch a movie to watch a good movie, if I want to watch one again, it would be the first one.
Rocky was about Rocky, which is sort of a symbol about life. You know what I mean? The whole movies are sort of metaphor for lives and stuff, or for life. By the time we got to the fourth one, it became a movie of the 80s and trendy and what was going on. It wasn't about Rocky. You know what I mean? Yeah.
But you could say that about the third one too. I mean,
I got that. See, I'm honest about things. When I can't be objective, I can be objective about many, many things. That Rocky 3 movie, that was the perfect age for me to have a movie like that. It was Mr. T, Mr. A-Team, Mr. T's. I was in that DC cab. I mean, Mr. T was a celebrity of a kid at the time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, I know Mr. T is a horrible actor, but I could believe him hitting somebody upside the head. You know what I mean? It's just, yeah. Rocky 1, 2, and 6 feel like a trilogy.
When was Mr. T ever required to act, though? So that's the thing. I have no problem with anything he was in.
Yeah, people coming out of the Rocky movies and how they reacted was awesome. It made kids drink eggs. I walked out of Star Wars swinging an imaginary thing. I came out of Rocky looking around like, who wants some? You know?
Yeah, that's the thing. You know, some of these movies that in the '80s were the perfect decade for it. Because yeah, I said, yeah, you walked out of Rocky 3. You know, buddy, you were there with your fake fighting on the
Yeah.
way out, and which is good because the guy I watched it with would have killed me. So I glad it was
Well,
fake.
going back to that kid, I told you I became the bane of his family because of Conan the Barbarian was the start. His dad went out and got boxing gloves, right? When I was a kid on Sundays, I don't know if it was Worldwide of Sports or what it was, but I didn't know they were reruns, but I was watching Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier, and George Foreman boxing fights. I was the only person I knew that liked boxing. So I would emulate boxing, and then you had Rocky. I beat up that guy's son right in front of him with all the kids, where he walked over and they said, "If you're going to cheat," and he ripped the boxing gloves off of me. It was the first time I thought an adult was going to hit me. I was like in, what was I, fifth grade? Yeah, I was like in fifth grade. Here we go. What we got here? Rambo and the Force of Freedom, low budget G.I. Joe cartoon. It seems every other good boxing movie is about real boxing. Raging Bull. I don't think I've ever seen Raging Bull, and I heard that was the best movie of the '80s. I don't know.
It's good.
It seems every other good boxing movie is about. Well, wait a minute. The comments are moving on me. Did Breaking Away come out in '82? I don't think so. Talked about an inspirational film. Okay. I don't think that movie came out in '82, but I could be wrong. If you like Mr. T, you had to like DC Cab. I thought I spit that out in my language there. Breaking Away was '79. Breen, you're right on it. Look at you.
I
In
didn't
middle
want
school on
to.
rainy
You
days,
were
Coach
rolling.
made us boxing PE. Nice. What are you doing? Now my cat's trying to climb the wall. I don't know what's going on. Come on, I'm trying to do something here. Just chill out for a little bit. Lester is our special emotional needs cat. You know, he's, I'm like, all right. Brain, you got any other movies?
No, I think we have thoroughly taken care of 1982.
Well, I don't know about you, but I just looked to see how long we were doing this. I cannot believe it's after 12. I'm hungry. I'm thirsty. And we went 3.5
I
hours. Did
know,
it feel like it?
not at all.
I feel like we did this in 45 minutes, man. I've enjoyed this. Wow. That's amazing. Well, I say we sign off because I'm hungry, and I've got my cat flipping out here, so I don't know what's going on.
Just don't eat the
So,
cat.
yeah.
Yeah, Tim, this was a great idea. I don't know if if you'd been thinking about that, but when I just happened to be checking my notifications and that when I popped up yesterday, and I said this was a great way to spend the morning because I said once I drag my fat ass out of bed on a Sunday morning, if I don't have to work, I mean, I said these can go 3.5 hours, and I love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
This was fun.
Yeah. And it's easier for me to do this when I'm by myself at the house. I'm not so distracted and
Yeah.
stuff. So that's fun. I'm so glad you had time to do it this today. And obviously we had fun. I'm sitting here like 3.5 hours, man, no idea. And then we had people that actually hung in here the whole time. So way to go, guys.
And there are other years where we can do this too. So that's.
So I'm gonna go ahead and say it. If anybody wants another one of these, where we pick a year. I've got a ton of '80s. I got tons of movies, but I got a ton from the '80s or something. Yeah, put it in the comments in the future after this is uploaded, not the live stream, and maybe we can talk about the professor, talk him into it again, or someone else that wants to join us.
Oh, that's yeah. You don't have to talk me into it. Now, do you like certain people like a Hitchcock stream? Would you be able to do one of those or?
Yeah, I've got Rear Window. Yeah.
Like I said, I would love to do one about like 50s movies in general. I mean, there are years I could do an entire stream on, but
yeah.
But like I said, I mean, a couple weeks ago when I finally downloaded Tubi.
Oh yeah,
because I'm lazy. I own all the movies, but it's easier just to sit in my desktop. I watched 3 movies from 1957. Yeah, Witness for the Prosecution, 12 Angry Men, and Sweet Smell of Success. Those kind of movies I can drone on about them the way we did 1982. And I would love to because I said yeah, there was a lot of great movies made in that decade.
What we can do is that there's things like that. I mean, I get into genre stuff and very
Yep.
specific stuff the further back you go. So basically, you could be the professor doctor, and I could be the character, the sidekick there to you explain things so it makes sense. I ask the questions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I can jump in because you already talked about 2 movies. As you talked about them, it all came back to me as you talked. So yeah, man, yeah. I'm big into film noir, Abbott Costello movies, random Universal monsters movies I can talk about all day long, and sci-fi, just all kinds of stuff, man. It just never knows. But the stuff I grew up with, where I went to the movies so much, that's the only reason. I can talk John Hughes movies. I can talk 70s movies. I'm good, man. We can make it work.
Now,
And like I said, anybody else that pops in, they can pop in with us if they do it. So yeah.
would you
But
know a
yeah.
top? Do you have a top 10? Or I mean, like, do you have like your top 10 formed in your mind, or did that just become a homework assignment?
No. When somebody says top 10, I go with the moment. I learned to stop overthinking it, and I just could just throw down the top 10 movies that are in my head that are my favorites, and it
Yeah.
doesn't mean anything.
No, that's what I said, because I said I have a top 10. Like I said, 9 of them are older than me,
Yeah.
which give you an idea how old they are. I said that Aaron and I did that as a stream recently.
Okay.
It was a blast. If we ever do a Hitchcock movie thing, we could invite him, and then you and I wouldn't have to say anything.
Well, that's cool. Rear Window. Rear Window is the one I would have to say something. Yeah. Yeah. Jimmy Stewart movies, for some reason, I got a big appreciation for them.
Well, it's no secret what my all-time favorite movie is.
Is that North by Northwest? What is
Yes,
that?
North by
Yes.
Northwest. But Rear Window is also in my top 10. So
I actually have the board game of Rear Window upstairs.
didn't know there was such a thing.
Yes, you can find it at a bookstore, Books a Million. Yeah, we got it off Amazon, half off. But all right, brother, I'm getting hungry. Let me see what we got here. We can get Gore on here as well, man. Gore and Palo.
Yeah.
Top 10 is tough in the art for me. I'll be thinking about it. I'm gonna go ahead and say it real again before we sign off. Make sure you're subscribed and hit that bell. I've mentioned on streams, I talked to Breen about it here before we went on air. I'm having surgery in 2 days from now, not for you people in the future. I don't know what my recovery is going to be like, but I could pop on here at any time. I could message people anytime and get them on here. You never know when me and the professor might pop back on until after I figure out what's going on.
I need a
So
pipe.
make sure you're sub. Yeah. I could be crying like a baby. I could be jumping around being stupid.
You won't be doing either one of those, but you'll be fine.
Yeah. And I'm still pouting. This is my priorities. I told you my priorities are all wrong. In a week, 6 days is free comic book day. They have a Johnny Quest and Gatchaman, G-Force, Battle of the Planets. They have free comic book day, and they both have comics from them. And I won't be able to go. I'm like, damn it. So I should be worried about getting past the surgery. And I'm like, I want those books, So anyway, guys, thanks for popping in here. Thanks for everybody that was in here. And later, man, Breen, plug away and say goodbye. Plug away your channel or whatever you want to.
Well, my channel, I haven't done anything in 2+ years. So the only thing I'll plug is Geeky Puppet Show. We're reading tonight. If you want to see, they're silly, but it's silly fun. At 8:15 usually, and like 9:30, give or take. But yeah, check us out.
Nice. Geeky Puppet Show. Wasn't the Geeky Puppet Show in the comments?
I didn't see him today, or maybe if he did, he just popped in and out. But I didn't see him.
Hey, I'm delirious. I gotta get food. But thanks for the well wishes, and Gore, thanks for the email. I found it this morning. I will check it out, and we're gonna have to say goodbye. So be excellent to each other.
Good afternoon, kids.
Yeah, and watch for the popcorn trick.